Welcome, everyone, to episode 56 of the Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm here with Doug and Owen, and we'll be joined by Sydney to talk Dune Part 2 in a bit. We're also going to lock in our Oscar predictions later in the episode. But for now, we can start with what we watched this past week. Who wants to go first this week?
Mine's pretty easy. I watched
Two
let's
things.
see here. I watched Dune Part 2.
Ooh.
Okay.
I watched Eyes Wide Shut.
Ooh.
Okay.
I
Great
watched
movie.
Duck a Buck.
Oh yes. Greater
Which,
movie, even may say.
Duck a Muck, if you know Adam Naiman, the film
Right.
critic, he put it's a
Big
Looney
Showgirls
Tunes
fan.
short. Yes. Adam Naiman put Duck a Muck on his Sight and Sound 10 ballot. Shout out. And then I watched Dune Part 2, and then I watched Dune Part 2 again.
Real. I barely watched it this week. I watched a bunch of Oscar shorts preparing for the Oscars. I still have some other ones to do. I just watched like all the live action ones. Yesterday I watched Scary Movie. I know Owen commented some shit on my review. Like, why are you watching Scary Movie? I was watching it with a friend. Okay, it was not my
Kevin, the type of guy to watch Scary Movie on a Friday night.
I know, but you were so specific. You're like, Kevin's the type of guy to watch Scary Movie on a Friday night, March 1st in 2024. I was like, what does this mean? Like, it's like, anyway, the point is, I watched, I watched Scary Movie with my friend.
Are you not?
And the only other thing I really watched which is the thing that I wanted to talk about, is this documentary called Gaza Fights for Freedom, which came out a few years ago. Really good Palestinian documentary. Obviously very topical to the genocide going on right now. People should watch it. It covers a lot. It's like very informative for people who aren't super well informed. It also has a lot of like really good emotional testimony, like just really fucked up stuff. There's like a number of things in the documentary where you're just watching it and you're like, this is like evil and really fucking difficult to take in. And I think it's really important that people seek it out. It used to be a paid documentary on YouTube because they were donating the money, but because of everything going on, it's now like free on YouTube. But you could still donate, obviously, but it is like there for everybody. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, people go watch that. Owen, what did you watch?
Yeah, I'm still like in the like editing process. So I think I said like maybe on another episode that I finished editing my film. I'm still working on that. I rewatched the David Lynch Dune movie, and we were recording this in like a weird way. We're recording this section after we talked about Dune. And I didn't really talk about David Lynch's Dune that much in that because we're really focusing on the new version. But there's a lot I really like about that one. I do think there's there's a totally different vibe to that movie. I think David Lynch is interested in more visual ideas that I think are compelling. I had a fun with that. I remember watching that back when it was first announced that Timothée Chalamet was going to play Paul Atreides. That was my like introduction to David Lynch. Was like, Timothée Chalamet is going to be in this movie. I might as well watch the older version by this random guy, you know. I knew who it was, but you know. Then I showed Tyler Whitmore the Flicker Tony Conrad.
Right, that was when the
might have killed him.
The iconic "I killed Tyler Whitmore" tweet.
Yeah. I don't even remember the reason why I showed him the Flicker was because he asked me because Denis made these like short films in 2011, and one of them is just basically a flicker effect. It's a flicker with some different colors, and then there's like some music playing over it. But it's like obviously, I referenced Tony Conrad's film and I explained like where this is from, and so I told him about that, and he ended up watching it, and that was an experience for him for sure. So I rewatched it as well just to kind of look at that. I watched 2 Joshua Oppenheimer documentaries for school.
Oh, right. I saw that.
The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, very good documentaries. I watched The Sweet East, which just came on VOD.
Yeah, which we'll be talking about on the podcast.
Yeah.
Spoiler, so.
And then I watched Duck Amuck with Doug, and
Shout
then
out.
I watched Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut, last night, which I think is really great. I gotta really rewatch it and sink in on the narrative. I wasn't really focusing on the narrative, but really great use of scale and size. It's about the Holy Wars, and it's really funny. Talking about the Holy Wars and Dune. The like I don't know, these crusades, these holy the religious crusades, and then to kind of relate that to now Dune and what was about to happen there. But I think I wanted to go to Ridley because I think Ridley and Denis exist in a similar kind of way, but there are different.
Right.
There are clear differences that separate them, and I think my sensibilities definitely lie more with Ridley, and like the stuff I'm interested in. So I wanted to kind of watch that in the wake of revisiting the Denis Dune films. It's got Orlando Bloom, Eva Green, Jeremy Irons. It's a really great cast. I would recommend watching that. The director's cut. I haven't seen the theatrical cut, but the kind of word on the street is like the theatrical cut is good, but the director's cut, which is like 3 hours 13 minutes, is like a masterpiece. And I agree. I think there's some really beautiful shots. There's like a Searchers kind of reference in there. There's really interesting kind of ways to show scale there. Yeah, and that's my kind of week.
Okay, sweet. We can go to our Dune 2 conversation then. Okay, we've got Sydney here with us to talk about Dune Part 2. You can find her on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and of course, as a co-host of the House of Cinema podcast. Sydney, welcome to the
Hello.
podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and honored. You guys are the coolest.
Thanks.
Oh my
Are we
gosh.
excited to talk about Dune Part 2? This is like a massive movie where we have a lot to figure out how to dissect.
Yeah. No, what a crazy movie. I've seen it 3 times, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. I
You've
don't
seen
know.
it 3 times? Did
Yeah,
you
I've
go
seen it-
last night?
Yeah, I went last
Mhm.
night.
Thursday
Yeah.
and Friday? Wow.
Yeah, I went Friday and
Respect.
yep.
I know a couple people did. Yeah, 3's a little too much
I
for
didn't
me.
I
have
saw
that in me.
someone on Twitter and they were like, round 5, here we go.
Oh
And
my
I don't really
God.
know how that's possible.
I don't
They
how does
went
the
twice
math
on the
work
same
on
day,
that?
probably.
Yeah, you got to.
That's
It's only
so.
been out.
I got a
for
comment from
3
someone who
days.
went to like one of those 3:15 a.m. showings.
Oh gosh, I
That's
saw that on
crazy.
New
Twitter.
York is
That's-
not a real place.
It's not.
What-
I don't think I would ever do that.
Bro, it's New York's so crazy because I saw people being like, "Here's the seats sold at the 7 a.m. IMAX screening of Dune," and I'm like, "What do you mean the 7 a.m. IMAX
Yeah,
screening?
yeah.
What are you talking
It's not
about?
even on like a Saturday. It's on like a Thursday.
It's on like a
Like,
Monday. Yeah, it's like what
somewhere
do
to be. Like,
like,
Anyway, so are you the only person who's read the book here? I think, right?
I read
Am
the
I?
first book
Oh,
in middle
okay.
school. But
I
that's not
read
helpful.
like a good chunk of it like 3 years ago, and I'm familiar with the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so that's like I think I honestly ended up lucking out because I chose to like keep reading. I considered rereading it before part 2 came out, but now I didn't. So I haven't read the first book since before the first movie came out. So
Right.
I'm hearing a lot of people talk about like changes that bothered them, and I definitely like noticed a lot of changes, but it wasn't so fresh in my head
Yeah.
that it was like distracting to me. But yeah, I have read the book, but it was a while ago.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
listened
was just double
to
checking.
the IMAX conversation between Chris Nolan and Villeneuve that was hosted at like a Tenet screening for the re-release.
Oh,
And
yep.
one of the things that Villeneuve like brings up is how like he intentionally made a lot of changes. Not well, a lot's whatever. He intentionally changed stuff from the book because he specifically wanted to avoid Frank Herbert's own criticism of the book because he was like, when Frank Herbert made the book, he was really upset that people didn't take it as an omen and they saw Paul as a hero. So he was like, we really wanted to make sure Paul wasn't a hero. We made a lot of changes to try to illustrate that. And I was like, I see that while watching it, I think. For sure.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of. I know Owen posted a screenshot of someone's comment. I have seen
Yeah, I mean,
at least like 100 comments already of people talking about how much they love Paul, and I'm like,
it feels like, especially very much in part 2, like it's very much obvious to me, at least, like that
Yeah.
Denis is portraying like, yes, he's not the good guy here, but like obviously people on like TikTok who like worship like Patrick Bateman and stuff are going to treat him in like a similar vein of like
Yeah.
he is the coolest guy ever.
They're doing like the literally me treatment. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
maybe not with Paul Atreides.
Yeah,
We
no.
might want to cap it at that.
It's going to happen. It is already happening.
Yeah, it's so hard. Like I could get not knowing where it's going after the first movie,
Sure.
but this movie makes it so obvious.
Yeah.
And
That's actually one of the things that I was having a hard time with, where how obvious so how obvious some of the stuff in this movie is, where it's like they really like, because they say like 4 times it's like, oh, the Bene Gesserit wrote the prophecy, and then like at the very beginning Paul's like, we have to turn the non-believers. It's like the second thing Paul
Yeah.
says in the entire
Uh-huh.
movie, and it's like, and then at towards the end he's like, oh, this is how we win, by by being Harkonnen. And I'm like, this is like, I mean, I don't know, man. He keeps saying I'm a bad guy like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen a lot of
probably.
people like not picking up on that. Like it seems like most people are starting to catch on, maybe not to the full extent that they should be, but I was surprised that he kind of made Lady Jessica out to be as much of like a malicious
she's like
figure as she
straight up
was.
She's
villain, like
evil,
Yeah.
bro.
worse.
She's like one of the most sinister like main characters in a big movie like this ever, dude. It's
Yeah.
insane.
That one
Uh,
close up of her where she was like, "We need to prey on the vulnerable," and then it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, she was freaky.
Do you think that's why some people are having that reaction to the movie? Because a lot of the like blame is being shifted on to her, maybe, at least in like this portrayal.
It definitely feels like a change. Like it feels really explicit. In the book, I don't think it's quite like that. Like I think Lady Jessica also has some more kind of like moral struggles with it, where here it seems like she's like almost possessed by like after she did the spice agony and like drank the water of life and all that. So I understand people having that complaint for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think a big we probably shouldn't start with issues because that's like because at least we mostly really like the movie. But I think a big issue is like you're just trying to tell us a lot about these characters in whatever it is, 2 hours and 45 minutes, and it
Mhm.
definitely could be a longer movie. So they kind of have to pick and choose what they show us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Man, I have so many issues with the way that this film is kind of put together. And I again, I really love the movie, but every time I watched it, like the seams on how they kind of like stitched the whole film together, the seams kind of grew larger and more obvious. And not even in a way that made me like dislike the entire like the product more, but like in a way that made me go, why? Like I feel like it was so easy to make the movie better, if they just, I don't know, didn't shoot so much coverage, and even like, I mean, shoot the coverage, but then maybe just don't edit it in every time somebody's moving or talking. I don't. It's like stuff like that. Really,
Yeah.
it's so crazy to me. Like there's
I-
the scene when Paul. It's like the his final
Sandworm.
trial or whatever, and he's the sandworm, that big, it was like the IMAX teaser, like that, like it's a really big fun moment in the movie. And it's cool, but like when the sandworm's coming, right, and he's like running to go jump on it, why why is it like him running, and then it's like like a crane shot of him running, and then it's like another, and then it cuts to a different take of him running, and then it cuts to him jumping on the sandworm, and instead of like it could have just been like the one take of him running across and then him jumping on the sandworm instead. I don't know why they shot so much coverage.
We talked about Denis, who was talking about like storyboarding and being very like specific on like what he's doing, and it's very bizarre for him to both storyboard, like map things out, and then also feel the need to, it almost seems like he's ruining his own vision in the edit by like storyboarding, planning it out, and then shooting so much coverage and feeling the need to include all of that coverage, which it's I feel like I think even more than the first movie, I think this movie, a lot of the issues for me are in the edit. I think there's so much that it's trying to put in, but it's also I feel very worried about like the viewer's perception of the movie, which is like obviously going to happen when you're making a movie with this budget, is you're going to be thinking about how people are gonna see this movie. But I think what is this, 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, a little
A
over.
little more.
Yeah.
I think you need 3 here, but I don't know if we need more information. Is the thing, as I think we just need to
You just
be
want longer
like,
shots.
I need space. I need time for things to breathe. But I think there's a lot, like I know like a lot of my stuff has been like pretty negative. I think I've been really enjoying Dune recently in terms of like the ideas of Dune, and Dune as like a Frank Herbert concept. And I think that's where it really bothers me, is because I think I remember like when the first one came out, I really liked the first one, and it was because a lot of it is because of like the narrative is just so strong that Frank Herbert created, and you really have to like fuck it up to make like a Dune movie that's kind of like not interesting, because there's just so many interesting qualities of that world. And then when I see the Denis movie, especially this new one with like fresher eyes, I'm less interested in I guess the filmmaking aspects of the movie. But I think the Frank Herbert narrative is just so strong that it's hard not to be interested in its narrative, I guess.
You really like Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is I think Chalamet. It's like that's the thing. Is I think Timothy Chalamet, Paul Atreides is just that's so good. You know, it's hard not to buy a ticket for that, and just that alone. I get bored is not maybe the perfect word, but I'm less interested in disinterested when watching it on a pure like image basis, and that's 96% of the time when I'm watching something. That is the
So
reason I'm
specific.
watching something, is for image progression and and the shots. And I think I really love the cast of this movie. That's probably the other 4%, for me. So
The
like
cast is like,
I love Brolin. I love, the 3 seconds we get Christopher Walken, that's like the most Marvel moment of my life, like that's so good. There's other people too.
Other people,
There's
just leaving out like
just
5
some
of like the
most
biggest
famous
names in the
actors in
movie.
the
No, I mean
world.
Brolin, Christopher
It's
Walken,
like a
that's all you
real-
need. I don't know.
it's a
tell you.
real-
No
like-
Tim Blake Nelson.
That is true. They did.
That's
I
fucked
don't
up.
know where he is.
The movie would have been better.
Yeah, I honestly 5 minutes and they're straight Tim Blake Nelson. I think I would have raised my score, but
Yeah,
what are you
we'll never
gonna
see
do?
him either, because
We'll
Denny
never
doesn't
see
believe
Tim
in
Blake
directors.
He doesn't. What do you
he
guys
doesn't
think about
believe in it.
that he thinks they're dead? If
I think
scenes get
that's-
cut, they're done.
I think that's like a dumb like director brain shit that happens sometimes. Well, specifically when they talk about studio movies, like I don't know, did he get final cut of this?
I would
Probably,
assume
but
so.
but even
He-
then, it's like I don't.
So
like,
the editor that he's been working with, it's Joe Walker. He's worked with him like a lot. Like that's his guy. And I watched an interview of Joe talk about Dune 1, and their relationship seems really close. So I really assume that like the edits he made on this movie were the edits he really wanted to. So it feels like I don't think he ever would be like, hey, I want to do a director's cut. But like it would have been cool to see, just as like a pure like content thing, where like, oh, it'd be cool to see a little extra stuff. But I don't think it's really the end of the world. But it's I don't know. I think it's bizarre. He
I
talks
think it's
about
weird
like
to go to war
recently
with
he mentioned
deleted
like
scenes.
recently he was talking about how he's like really upset and like when he looks back at Blade Runner. And I think he's just a very like reflective filmmaker in terms of like his own work. And I think like he kind of wants things to be done. And I don't think he wants to like look back on them too like self-critical. So I think like a
That-
director's cut would
Why
be
the
a very
Blade Runner
like
thing made me laugh
self-critical.
so
No, the
much.
Blade Runner quote is so silly.
He's like, I'm up at night, like losing my mind over the fact that I made that movie. And everyone on Twitter is like, that's my favorite movie.
No, I think it's like one of his better movies
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
great.
It's
I like it a
really
lot.
good. But it's like the full like the quote of him being like, I don't know why. That he was like, that was Ridley Scott's universe. I don't know why I entered
Which
someone
is
else's
funny.
universe.
I think it's
Whoa, I
funny.
haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I will never make a movie in someone else's universe again, which I think is
Yeah.
hilarious because what are you doing right now?
that all
Like,
what
this is
Dune
not
is?
Frank
But no,
Herbert's universe.
No, I was really thinking about this. Because I wrote a little bit about this movie, just to like try and collect my thoughts before we recorded because
Yeah.
there's so much to talk about. And one of the things I was thinking of was, I'm really trying to reflect on Villeneuve's style, right? Because there's a lot of kind of dumb discussion about like Villeneuve auteurism and his role as an author in
Do you
cinema,
think he's
right?
an auteur?
Yeah, I do. I I think that he's a different kind of auteur
Yeah.
than the kind of guys that we usually talk about.
Mhm.
But I do think that he's an auteur. But and his style is very brutalist, like, and his style is very minimalist.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say, right? Because Dune, I think,
It's
from
very minimalist,
first
maximalist,
glance,
and like a
yeah,
big
feels like a maximalist story, but like all of the shots are just like, like
guy in the
like
middle.
shallow focus close-ups.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And um
Twitter compositions.
yeah, but it's just like but the his style, right? It's like it requires a transformation of the source text, right? It's not Frank Herbert's Dune the movie. It's kind of like Denis Villeneuve
Mhm.
transforming Dune into his own thing, right?
Yeah.
That he can make. And I think that is what people are in love with.
Yeah.
I think that's
Do
what
you
people
think
wanted.
he feels more comfortable, or I guess he felt more comfortable adapting Dune because it was book to screen, so he could, make it his own? Where in Blade Runner, he felt where he was kind of held back by trying to stay too close to the original with Ridley, and he was like, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm trying to be me and Ridley at the same time, and that kind
Yeah.
of battle of like,
Blade Runner
I
is so interesting. That
can't
movie's
make
so
my own
bizarre
movie here
in some
because it
ways.
exists in someone else's universe, and this is
Yeah,
not
'cause
100% me.
because with Blade Runner, he was like, he was working with somebody else's iconography. Blade Runner has some
Mhm.
of the most iconic images in genre
Yeah.
filmmaking, right? And he was, and he obviously he was kind of like tied to that, and he couldn't really go too very far away from that. Whereas in Dune, he's referencing art and he's referencing like images described in the book, and he's also kind of like softly recreating like very iconic Dune art.
Mhm.
But outside of that, it's all him. It's all
It's
his
very
brutalist
Denis.
architecture. It's all of his fucking Greg Fraser close-ups. It's all him, baby. It's all him.
Poor Greg, man.
I
Yeah.
think it's easier. I think it's easier for the audience to fall in love with it because it's like when you're I don't really know what like the percentage would be, but like at least for me, like this was my introduction to the world as somebody who never read
Yeah,
the books,
I'm
and I
well, I'm
imagine
sure
that's the
that's
case
for
for like
most
most of
people.
the people watching it. Yeah, so it's like Denis' world of Dune is like the only world of Dune that I know. Like I knew what happened in the books before the movie ever came out because I
Sure.
had people spoil it to me or whatever, but like I had never like seen it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
like in
what
my
I've
own
been
head.
thinking about because I read the book like after we found out the movie was coming out, and so I'd like
Mhm.
seen some of the imagery already, so I think I started to associate it with Denis' visuals. But
Yeah.
Owen, I've been like laughing to myself seeing you talk about Dune on Twitter and stuff
Yeah.
because I feel like there is this dynamic where it's like people are hyping this movie up so much that it's like even though you liked it, you almost want to be like, no, wait, but it's not like that great. And then it sounds like you're like hating on it when you're really not. You're just trying to have like
Yeah,
an actual nuance
Yeah.
conversation with it.
it's got
I've
one of the 10 highest ratings on Letterboxd right now.
yeah,
for
That's-
I
everyone.
think
yeah.
it's number. We last checked last night.
It's
number
seven.
No. We
in the
were on
top 10.
call, and that
7?
shit was number 4.
Number
Ever?
4. Yeah, on
when
Letterboxd
you
right now.
sort
Yeah,
highest rated on Letterboxd, the top 250. That's number.
I think it's
last
number
time we
4
checked-
on Letterboxd, and I
last
think it's
time we
number
checked,
2 on
it-
IMDb.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Last
and,
night,
like-
bro, when we were talking on we're not lame. We don't talk on Discord. But last night when we were on
You know how
call,
many times we've referenced Discord on the
Shut up.
podcast?
Continue.
I saw a tweet that I sent to you where it was somebody that posted Paul in Dune and then goddamn Michael Corleone from The Godfather and being like, this is the same character if you think about it. And I was like, listen,
Yeah.
like, what are we doing? I'm not
I
saying
mean,
that they're not
I
similar,
guess
but what are we
similar,
doing?
and I kind of made this correlation on TikTok, but I think similar to when we talked about Madam Web and everyone was like, this is the worst movie ever made. We're starting at 0, right? And now like weeks later, we are talking about Dune 2 where everyone is like, is this the greatest movie point blank ever made? And that's where we're starting at 100. We're starting
I
at
felt
100.
so bad because I wrote my Letterboxd review and I was like, I left the theater after watching Dune 2 for the first time, and I immediately like opened Letterboxd, saw a bunch of people being like, this is the best movie ever, and then I wrote a review that was essentially like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. And then it's like as a joke, and then people in the comments,
took it seriously.
someone was like, this is the most beautiful review I've read. I was like, it's like, that's not what I meant.
There's a lot of I mean, I gave this movie 5 stars, but I'm not giving it 5 stars because I think it's the best movie of all time. I think that's like an insane statement to make. I'm not even giving it 5 stars because I think it's a perfect movie. But the way I see it, just like watching like David Lynch's Dune, and I totally agree with you that David Lynch's Dune is way more visually interesting than Denis' films are.
Yeah.
But I think Lynch's
Denis.
film, like
Denis, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think even it's like people are like, oh my God, Greg Fraser's cinematography. I think it's cool because it's big, but it's not super layered. It's very, like you said, minimalist, brutalist. It's very like geometric and like, visually satisfying, which I think people like symmetrical visuals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not why I like his Dune movies. I like his Dune movies because I feel like all the sacrifices he's making, even though it's like, oh, I wish we could have all these other things, him doing this is kind of what he needs to do to like cross the finish line with like adapting this. And so that's why I love his Dune movies, because I feel like he's like actually really doing it in a way that works as something like accessible and digestible. But best movie of all time is a lot. I don't agree with that.
I mean, it's like, it's so ridiculous that we don't even have to really talk about it.
I think it's important to bring up because it's like people on Twitter, and it's kind of annoying. That's the culture that we live in, and it's like even there's people that are like, you can have disagreements with this and this, but to say that you don't like Denis' visuals is like ridiculous, and you can't say that. And that's such like a shallow way of thinking about anything.
They're probably like fucking like 15 years old.
Perfect,
bro,
like,
Tyler Whitmore and George Carmi were clowning me for not giving this shit 5 stars
Yeah,
after I watched it the third time.
They were like,
I was like,
Doug, you
what do
saw
you
the
want from
movie
me?
3 times in a week. You have to give it 5 stars. Which that's a whole
like I saw
conversation.
Bottoms 3 times in 4 days, and I was like, this
that's a whole nother conversation. But I just think I think it was funny as well, like because we all saw it on that Sunday.
Yeah.
And like most people hadn't seen the movie, and it was like, if you didn't think that movie was the best thing ever before the world even saw it, people were still mad at you. So it was like, you haven't even seen the movie, and now like I don't know, it's such a weird like reactionary kind of thing that has been going on. And it's interesting because like people like the first Dune, but this is like a whole different situation where it's like, this is the best thing ever.
Do you guys think 2 is better than 1?
I don't know.
They're
different.
They're really different.
Yeah, I personally do. I know Owen thinks the first.
I like better. 1, but it's also I don't even know how I could really like contrast and compare them side by side, because they kind of exist in 2 different like almost universes for me, or like they exist at separate times in my life. It's hard for me to watch. Like I rewatched the first one this week, and I was like, I do like this less than I did, but I find myself less critical of it because it almost like it's hard to look at it completely with fresh eyes, whereas like I would have to kind of wipe it from my brain completely and then watch it, whereas like 2 is so new that I can go without any prior experience of 2 besides one, obviously, like that existing, and I can look at it like more neutral. So I think I do prefer 1 over 2 just because of like what it means to me or what it meant to me at that time. And 2 is just kind of, I find myself more mad at 2 because it's just like it doesn't mean as much to me.
Well, I think
like
one
not
is I
16
think one
watching
is like
Dune for the first time anymore.
16 is crazy.
How old are you, dude? I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. I think they both kind of exist at different parts of like my life, and I think so. I definitely prefer 1, but I understand why people prefer 2 because it's definitely like more action packed, and I think in like a
there's more
narrative,
spectacle.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely more spectacle, which I like. I don't know if that's not really more interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. I think it is for me, and that's probably why I like him because I think the first one is like a neater movie. Like it's just like, like you know what I mean. Like I feel like some of the stuff we're complaining about is like less of a bother in the first movie, but I think like it's more apparent in the second one because there's so much big stuff going on. But I like the big stuff. Like I feel like some of these issues have to exist for the big stuff to happen. So I don't know. Like I enjoy it more, but I think the first one is definitely like I don't know how I would describe it.
Can I throw out a fucking heater right now? Can we
Sure.
just get into the fucking weeds?
Yeah,
And can I throw out a
yeah,
heater?
yeah,
This is something
do
that
it.
is not in the first movie that I don't think I've seen this movie 3 times. I don't think I like this part of this movie anymore. And this is something that every single fucking person disagrees with.
I know exactly what you're
Here we go.
Does Fade Routha work in this movie? I think that he is so ridiculous. I like when I first watched it, I was like, oh my god, I love Austin Butler. He's one of my favorite fucking young actors, bro.
Yep.
And I'm like, I love he's such a specific kind of weird freak in the movie.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again and I was like, the section that he gets introduced in is kind of long. And then I watched it like a third time and I'm like, the section he gets introduced in doesn't matter narratively, which is fine. Not everything has to matter narratively. And then also, every time he talks, it takes me out of the movie because he sounds
I
so
love
ridiculous.
That. That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of it. Like my
I
theater.
do, yeah.
No, like everybody started laughing as soon as he talked.
I know people were laughing.
That fucking rocks.
It's like that's me. I understand why you're laughing because it's like he's in a different. It's
no,
like
but I
he's
like
transported
it.
in from a different movie.
So I think Doug's point, and we talked about this like last night, but I think I have like prior existing knowledge of this take. That like when he exists, I feel like in a different movie, and I think that has to do a lot with Denis. Like neuterization is like a harsh way to say it, but like Denis, the rest of the movie feels very cold in a specific tone, and I think what's his name? Austin Butler's Fade exists in like a different movie in almost a way, but I think he works more than Doug is saying, but I do agree with like the fact that he is on a different like kind of wavelength than everyone else, which might just kind of work for that character. But it is kind of, he is so different from everyone else in even the way of like he's different from like the people that he's like family members with. He's just on like a different like spike.
That's true. It worked for me just because I feel like it made Gidi Prime enough of like feeling like it is literally a different planet with like a different culture. But I do, Doug.
No, sorry, no. I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt you. But like, I think the stuff on the planet works really well. Even though it's like what did Elric say? Like it's like the black and white politics
Zack
transferred into a Zack Snyder movie. That's very funny. But I think the stuff when I'm like, I don't think it works is when he's on Arrakis and I'm like, this guy's ridiculous. Like
it does feel like to me when he was like kind of just like in Arrakeen and like running shit, I was like, I don't really see Fade Ralph as someone who should be like running shit. He should just be like the weird guy who's like killing people.
No, yes. When the Emperor shows up and he like walks up to like the window or whatever, and he's like, "What is he doing here?" I'm like, "What the fuck is going on, dude? What the hell?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, when I was watching it, I was like, I wonder how the hell people who like haven't, because I can't watch it without my knowledge of like the book. And so everything I see, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's Fade Routha. Like this makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But he plays such an interesting role in this movie because we really don't spend a lot of time with him at all. He's just like this funky guy who Paul like fights in the book. And in the book, he's not a huge presence either, but it's just different in the book. And people are saying like, oh, he's like the most iconic villain since XYZ. I'm like, I feel like we don't even know anything about him to even be saying that.
Wait, it almost feels like people watch different cuts than me, because it's like you see in the movie more than like the version I saw, because like obviously Austin Butler, incredible performer, he stands out for sure.
Love that
which
guy.
is like obviously why immediately people are like pointing at like, oh, he's very talented. But I don't know. I think it's like I think we should probably dissect that more than like immediately crowning him as like the greatest antagonist since.
I don't even think people. I think when people said it was the best villain since Heath Ledger's Joker, I was like, did you guys even think about the movies that have come out?
No, I know. It's
because The Dark Knight is about Batman and the Joker. Dune Part 2 is not about Paul and Fade Ralph.
No, he does not much like a side
nearly
character kind of thing going on. Which there are a lot of side characters in this movie, and it does feel like, I mean, when you're kind of bringing an ensemble like this with so many talented actors, people are going to get left behind, and it feels like many people are just kind of showing up for one scene. I saw there was a tweet recently where it was like Denis talking to Florence Pugh and being like, I need you to gamble with me here. Like, you're gonna be in this movie for like a couple scenes, and if we can get Messiah to go, then boom, you're gold, and you're gonna be like a main character. But it does feel like there is a lot of like that in this movie where it's like, hey, that performance or that character is really cool, and then we never see them again. Like, I think Lea Seydoux is incredible in her minimal time, and she's maybe in 2 scenes, 3 scenes. And that's just gonna be the case when you have so much going on. But again, it goes back to the point earlier where it's like, I think we could have used more time to just kind of build this. I do think like you look at the Lord of the Rings, I just think I think this movie could be longer. And it's interesting that Denis, it's also the other quote where he's like, the kids, they yearn for 3-hour movies. Well, then maybe you could have made a 3-hour movie. I don't it's like this movie, a lot of it, like when we go again, the editing, I think it just kind of all, even though he said that people or the youth wants 3-hour movies, it all feels to me like there was a time that they wanted to be at, and it was maybe shorter than they actually should have kind of set that time.
Well, yeah, that's why like even it's not like he was like, oh, I wish I could have included this. Like, they literally shot scenes with Count Fenring, Tim Blake Nelson, and Thufir Hawat. That always fucks me up because the audiobooks, they say Thufir Hawat in the first movie. Timothy Chalamet was like, Thufir Hawat, and I was like, what?
I rewatched the first one, and that I like replayed that scene like multiple times because I was like, that didn't sound normal. That was a little odd. But
people are upset he was not
removed from the movie,
just completely taken out. And so it's like, why not just release an extent? If you care so much about this world and this story, why not release an extended cut if you literally shot the scenes? They shot the scenes,
but even like, so that's the thing, is like they cut Tim Blake Nelson, they cut other people. It's like, but it also at the same time you cut those people, and it still feels like the people we left in the movie aren't given enough time.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe cutting those people was the best decision, but we maybe probably should have shot more scenes with some of the people that we actually had in the movie.
Right, because I do think it was the right decision to not have these kind of extraneous characters that aren't like integral to the main plot that's going on. Sure. Doug, I saw your TikTok about the guild navigators that I thought was really, really interesting. Because that's something that I thought about after the first movie, because they didn't really talk about. I mean, I think they mentioned the Spacing Guild, but the guild navigators are like not a thing at all, which is like a really, really cool, and I think important part of the book, because it actually makes you understand the gravity of like what spice means to this world and interstellar travel. But I don't know if I agree with you that Denis didn't do it because it's like too weird. Well, I think that he didn't do it because it would just overcomplicate things.
I think that okay, the thesis of my video was that Denis avoids the weird stuff in Dune because it doesn't fit with his style. And my video wasn't awesome because the only example I use is the Guild Navigators, and people in my comments were like, they didn't even describe what the Guild Navigator looks like in the first Dune book.
I know
And
that
I'm like,
video did well too. It's always the ones that you're like, fuck, I wish I like said that differently or something.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm just using that as an example because that's like an important, because that's like the whole point of, not the whole point, but like a big part of the in-universe reason why spice is so important is because of the Guild Navigators. And in these movies, they don't really explain that. But I do think though that it's, if not showing them right for them specifically, the Guild Navigators, I think that even if they did show them, it would still be kind of like how they looked in the first movie, which would be like not really how it's not Frank Herbert's vision of the Guild Navigators, which is fucking Cthulhu. So I don't know. I think that there's other stuff like that too, where it's just like a transformation of Frank Herbert's vision into something different that fits in with Villeneuve's style. And I was actually working on another video that I was taking a little bit more seriously, where I was trying to explain how Frank Herbert's book is a piece of psychedelia, a media, right? And kind of like a something that like, like acid bros and like people into mushrooms kind of like consider highly. And I don't think that Villeneuve's movie is the same. I think that because I don't think that Villeneuve is as interested in the idea of psychedelia and like, yo man, mushrooms open your mind, which is like, that's like one of the things that, because like spice is just a fucking psychedelic drug, right?
Yeah.
And which is very silly. And I don't think that Frank Herbert's as interested in those aspects either. Which again, it's not like, I'm not saying that that's bad. It's just different.
But I think what Sydney said makes sense, because I think it comes down to overcomplicating it, because you said earlier that like a big part of why the movie works is because he's making this big thing that is also very digestible for everybody watching it. And so I think if you add, yeah, sure, that could be like an issue you have with it, but I think that's like a positive. And I think if you add all this stuff, because like I really like the ideas of the movie, and if I like that they're digestible for people. Like,
yeah.
I think that it might be too digestible, and but specifically, and I think this is like very like it's a screenplay problem. And saying problem, people are gonna shoot me in the head with a gun. Honestly, I think just for even saying that, I love this movie, guys. But I think that there's some moments that are so like kind of glib and really obvious to the point where I'm like, I don't be like, can you take the audience seriously, more seriously than this?
Yeah.
Where it's like the scene where they're talking about Fade Routha, and Florence Pugh was like, Fade Routha, he's psychotic. Like, we would have picked up on that after we saw him. Like, like I don't know,
licks the knife or something. Well, I keep seeing people online, and people online don't watch movies, but it's like people are like, oh, I kind of like this movie because they aren't hand holding the audience, and which is funny. It's like I do think there is probably too much hand holding.
They said that about Dune too.
Yeah, they were like, oh, I really like this movie because they're not like holding my hand and they're not like telling me.
I saw professional film people that talk about film professionally, like talk about that, how they're like, I really, Dune is a refreshing blockbuster because it's not glib and it's not like poking at the audience, and it's like they're not spelling things out. And I'm
like when Lady Jessica looks directly into the camera and said, "We're preying on the weak."
That
wasn't really like hand holding.
But I understand from like Denis' standpoint, like making this movie and like the whole conversation about Dune and like the kind of reaction from David Lynch's Dune and the book being such this like unadaptable thing. And like when you're going into something like that, you are going to have like that worry and like the thinking of like, how is the audience going to perceive this? And I think Denis is probably overcompensating for that by like making it too direct, worrying about like, I don't think everyone's going to get all of this, because there is so much, like Dune is so complicated and there's all this stuff going on, and when you're cutting characters and you're I don't know, I do feel like there's a little too much, and it kind of feels mangled to me in the way that they really want people to like it and understand it.
I feel like there's like I don't know, maybe I'm being naive. I think there's some stuff that's like really interesting in the details, and it's not like incredibly subtle, but I think it's probably subtle to a number of people who watch the movie. Like, I don't know, I really like when Fade has like the fight scene, and you know that like these guys have been drugged or whatever, and it's kind of like suggesting how much like control they have over like what people they put in power, and like what regular people in the audience know about these people, like, and how we just like present these powerful figures to the rest of the world as one thing, and we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, and it's very obvious. Like that stuff's like, I don't think every person watching the movie
For sure.
is really picking up on a detail like that. Like I think he manages to put both that in there, and then some of the stuff you said where like, like some of those lines that are obvious, like that Florence Pugh part, it's like maybe doesn't need to be in there. But in general, like I think there's like a nice balance of both. Personally, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think I agree because I don't know. I don't know if movies have like changed and gotten a little more spoon feeding lately. I didn't think it was that bad, but I do think a lot of it is definitely less subtle than the book. But then it's like,
Yeah.
you see what people are saying online and you're like, yeah, maybe movies do need to be
Yeah.
this blatant
Yeah,
about things.
that's what, because I think it's like that's always my like perspective when I watch this stuff, especially because I usually go to the movies with my friends who are like not movie people. So when I see their
Yeah.
reaction to a movie, I could like gauge how like a regular person watches a movie, and I'm just like, of course this is hand holding to us when like we watch movies every day.
Yeah.
Like it's like
And we're
I don't
kind of
really
thinking about it.
Yeah,
more.
so it's like when I see like my friends watch certain movies and they're like, "What the fuck was that about?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, So I don't like.
Yeah.
I think there like has to be. I'm not saying there has to be a level. Like you should definitely treat the audience as smart, but at the same time, like we see time and time again that the audience is not that smart. So
But does
like,
does that corrupt art a little bit, I guess,
Yeah, I
when
was
you're
gonna
trying
say,
to play
fuck
the
the
lowest
audience,
common
bro.
denominator?
Yeah,
no, sure. I'm not like,
I think
but he's making a specific, like you're making like big blockbuster movies. Like it's
No, I
like,
agree.
I think it's a different thing.
But I mean, I think that's kind of at like the crux of the reason why this doesn't really work for me.
Sure.
Is like this is not a movie completely for me anymore. I do feel like a little removed from the audience, even though I'm like interested in Dune as like a concept. I don't think this is like a movie. I think this is like a movie for everyone, where it's like it doesn't really totally work for me. Yeah, I don't know.
Here's a fun suggestion.
Yeah.
Can we talk about things that we like about the movie?
Sure. Sure.
Oh yeah, we've lost every single subscriber already. By the way,
No, it's okay. I mean,
No,
people
no.
like listen. I
This
think
is
people
the
are
only
well aware
negative
that
Dune
Ellen-
podcast on the internet.
we're not
so
even
we
being negative.
we
Also,
gotta-
I think we're being
I
pretty.
think we're being
Yeah,
more.
I think
I
this
think
is
we're
a
being like
good-
critical
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
being.
I think it's
of a
a good
thing that we.
We're
like.
always
think it's
critical.
I
Sure.
think
Unless
it's
it's Avatar.
important to address things that happen in the movie that we might not think are perfect, because I think most of the discussions around this movie are going to be so like this is the greatest thing ever, and I think
Yeah.
if every conversation is going to be like that, what's the point of any conversation?
Yeah, so it's like I feel like everything good about the movie is being said.
Yeah, I think
constantly
it's
on the
interesting to
internet.
talk about other stuff.
Something I like about the movie.
Yeah,
is
what did you like, Doug, about the movie?
Florence Pugh's costumes.
Okay.
She's
Yeah.
giving fucking Padme. I'm a.
Yep.
How do you say her name?
Yep. No,
Padme.
take
A
your
little,
time,
a
take your
little
time.
sparkly lip gloss moment. She looked really good.
Dude, my favorite shots in the entire movie are when during the siege of it's not Iraqine, is it? But like when the Emperor comes,
Yeah.
like during the siege, we get this close up. It's like 70% of the movie's close ups, but you get you get this
Jeez,
close up of Florence Pugh, like like totally like zoned out, like eyes droopy,
Yeah.
but her like costume, like she has like a face mask thing
Mm.
that's like
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
in
yeah.
like this. It looks so awesome. I'm like, holy shit, it looks so cool.
Yeah, the costume design for her was great. I like seeing kind of like the lushness of where she and the Emperor lived. Chris, what did you guys think of Christopher Walken? I was a little bit. I don't
Why
think
is
he
he
was supposed to
talking
be
normal?
chewing the scenery, but
he is just Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's like you're not gonna cast. I don't know how old Christopher Walken is right now, but he is up there.
70s probably.
At this point in his career, when you make that casting decision, you are not casting Christopher Walken to transform into anything. So it
He's
was very
80, by the
clear.
way,
Mhm.
for
He's
reference.
80.
Yeah.
So it's very clear
Damn.
when you cast 80-year-old Christopher Walken that you are going to get 80-year-old Christopher Walken. So I never went into it being like he's going to do something else. I don't think he like took me out of the movie because I already was like, I just want to see Christopher Walken be Christopher Walken. But I don't know. I understand him not fitting for everyone because he just.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar thing to kind of Fade being like kind of just on a different wavelength than everyone else, but he's just Christopher Walken.
No, but I don't know. Maybe this is just a me thing, but I enjoy stuff like that. Like when I have like this like big movie and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's Christopher Walken, and then like that's
Oh,
Austin
100%.
Butler. Like when
I am
Austin Butler
totally.
showed up, and he sounded like Elvis, I was like, that's fucking fun because I was like, this is like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
vehicle for like all these like big stars. Like it's like you don't
No,
really
I
get
think
like all
that's
these big people in a
maybe
movie together.
the funnest part of
And
this thing.
yeah, and I was like, when they show up and like I
It's
think
like watching the
Timothy.
All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm like, I think Timothy is great as Paul. Like, I think he's
Yeah.
perfect, and I think he nails it. But at the same time, like, I'm never like, that's not Timothy Chalamet. I'm like, that's
Mhm.
Timothy Chalamet, but
Well-
I want it to be Timothy Chalamet. Like, I want everybody to be
Yeah,
who they
sure.
are. I'm like, I like these people. I don't know, me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. I don't know.
Doug disagrees.
Well, no,
Yep.
because when you're like, that's Timothy Chalamet, I'm like, I agree. I wish it wasn't. I kind of sometimes I'm like,
yeah.
I wish that was Paul.
Yeah.
But
I
I
see
do
him
think
as
I do
Paul,
think
I
he is
think.
Paul. Yeah, I do
Okay.
think
I
he
think
is like
he
a
is
number of
Paul.
times.
Yeah.
I think
I
he
think
really.
he's
I
really
think
good.
that moment where he's in the South with the fundamentalists, and he.
Yeah.
I mean, I do believe in the hype for that moment because I think they
That
did
was,
a
like, the
really
best,
good
yeah.
job. Yeah, setting up how he's really like, I can't go to the South. Like, I know what's gonna happen if I go to the South, and then
Yeah.
Jessica's telling him like, rein it in a little bit, but he knows now that this is his moment to really assert himself as the Messiah. It's a really scary moment. That's kind of
Yeah.
like the point of no return.
No,
Once he
that
does
fucking
that, I thought he
rocked.
was really good in that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about Javier Bardem? It was
Yeah.
so funny
Best
in this
performance in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
For
is
sure.
having
Yeah.
the most fun in this movie for sure.
Giving
I
him dad
love that.
humor energy was a good decision, I think. Some people thought one of my friends said that they thought it was a little too much like Hollywood blockbuster humor. But I think
I don't
they
think
just
so. I think it's
I think
no.
so,
I
a
thought it
little
was a
bit,
little bit different. I mean, the second time I saw the movie, like my theater wasn't really laughing at it. Like when he would show up, like my theater was like kind of quiet, and I was like, well, now I don't want to laugh because I don't want to be like a guy by myself. I was like, this is fucking funny. Like
I think it's like at first glance it's very funny, but I think it also very much works as Stilgar being like the delusional guy who's like
Yeah.
believing anything. I think that part is done really well. I think the kind of it being both the comedic relief in like a very bleak movie, but also like showing that like these people are just really brainwashed and trying to find any way to believe that Paul is the Messiah.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think that element really works.
And even just the humor like amongst the Fremen themselves, like I think it was an important contrast to have where like the Harkonnens are so brutal and the Fremen are just like normal people.
Yeah.
They're this like collectivist society. And the humor, like they don't really continue it into the second half when things get more real.
Yeah.
I think that it was used really well as Paul is kind of building a rapport with the Fremen and yeah, with Stilgar and stuff. So I liked it a lot.
No, I like Stilgar is my favorite guy. That's
He's
my
your
Yeah.
favorite guy.
He's the
Yeah.
best guy.
My favorite guy, and a little bit to do with what Kevin was talking about, is I just love when Josh Brolin shows up, and he's just Josh Brolin, but that scene, which is like ripped straight out of the books. It's like they did that scene exactly in David Lynch's Dune. It's like it's straight out of the books. It's when Josh Brolin, Gurney, and Timothy Chalamet's Paul reunite. That scene made me cry both times. It's like the most effective scene in the movie for me. I just think that whole relationship is so sweet. And it's just like the best guy ever.
What did you think about the fight with him?
Yeah,
and
we'll
Dave
talk about that in a second, Doug. The fight?
Yeah, like I say fight. It would last
Fight.
about like 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've seen
Between-
people
between
complaining about it because
who?
When he kills
Josh Brolin and when he kills Dave
Ravon.
Bautista.
Oh, when he just stabs Dave Bautista in the
yeah,
neck.
I think that was
Um,
good. Dave Bautista wouldn't stand a fucking chance, as it were.
I think
So,
it's
that
I
was
think it
fun.
was I think it's a good like showcase of like them they're coming for revenge and they like are powerful and they're about to take over. Like it was
Yeah.
like a very obvious like, oh, this shit is not going to go well for the other side. Dave Bautista, I've seen a lot of like love for him online. He's not in the movie that much. I think like I love Dave Bautista, but like he's really not in the movie that much. Like I don't know. The love
Yeah.
kind
I
of seems
love
like
Dave
a little
Bautista.
like
He has the most single note performance in like
Yeah,
any movie.
I
He's
don't know.
he's doing a lot of yelling.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I've seen him in like he's one of my favorite performances of Dune 2. It's like Dave Bautista,
Who said that?
I'm singing
I-
your
that's
praises
crazy.
like
He's in
you know,
3 scenes and he
it's
yells
very,
all of his
like,
lines.
It's like yeah, I know I've seen him like in like there's like lists of like, oh, these are my favorite performances like Dave Bautista. Like there are so many people in here. Dave Bautista does like solid with what he's given, right? But it's
Yeah.
like, come on.
He
I
made
don't
more of
think
an
it's-
impression in Blade Runner than
Oh,
He's
for
so
sure.
good in Blade
Oh,
Runner, dude.
absolutely.
Oh my
So
god.
I mean, he does. I
Oh
think
my
he's
God.
good in the first one. It's like I don't know. There's so much going on here. He's really not. He's pushed to the side because when you bring in Austin Butler, when you bring in Fade, you kind of have to push him to the side because they're like
Mhm.
they're similar characters, but they're different. And there are moments where they do show like there's very a clear difference in Fade.
It's like a hierarchy.
But like he kind of, again, the movie. There's so much going on. You kind of do have to shorten people's screen time. So yeah, David
Mhm.
Heath kind of gets lost in this. So, but I think that specific scene where Josh Brolin kills him, I think does work in the kind of context of like, yeah, they are just taking over. And
Yeah, it's like
their time to like.
it's
kind of
very
destroy
effective the
everyone.
way
Yeah.
they just like kind of get through everything very easily.
Mhm.
Like in a good way, I think, because it's I don't know, like they just have like nukes and shit.
Well, I
It's
like
Yeah.
that scene of like that scene we're talking about where Josh Brolin kills Dave Bautista, right? It's
Yeah.
in right before that there's like this sweeping shot across like the like the air, like the city, I don't know what you want to call it, like the
Yeah,
city,
yeah.
right, showing like like a war happening. And I like
Right.
that because it looks like a video game. It is the most
Shout
it is
out.
like it is the
Mm.
one part of the movie where it is so obviously CG and it's actually like kind of like very low quality, not low quality, low detailed
Mm.
rendered CG models that they were sweeping over, and I'm like, that
Mhm.
rocks. It looks like a video game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That reminds me, I feel like there's so much movie that people forget about this, but what did you guys think of the opening scene? Under
this is
this
what
like
yes,
bright orange sun. I feel like
This
it was
is
totally
my
Denis in like
favorite bit of the
Sicario mode or
movie.
something. Yeah, I thought it was really good, but no one's talking about it at all.
Yeah, well, because there is so much movie, and I think when you end the way this movie ends, I think that's really all people are going to think about, and that's the
Mhm.
emotions and that's the high you're riding. But I really love that orange in that whole sequence, and I think that whole sequence, just the way that it's structured and what's going on, and the way that the characters are moving, and the the Harkonnens like
When
floating
they're
up
like,
that
Yeah, off the
thing.
yeah,
thing. Oh,
gliding.
that was
I
so
think
cool.
that is
Yeah.
the best chunk of the movie, and I don't know if I don't like as the rest of it as much, but I think the orange looks great. I would love it if like at night it got a little bluer, maybe a little Mad Max Fury Roadish, because I think it's so like mid-tone, muted, and just uninteresting, and I think the two like most interesting things they do creatively is when Austin Butler's in that arena and it's like the whatever, it's the
So, like,
monochrome like
yeah, monochrome.
some sort of thing going on. I think that's interesting. I don't think it's like the most crazy like most effective way of doing anything ever, but I think the orange and the kind of the really white is more interesting than just it being mid-tones and boring
That's Denis
middle
getting more
shot.
creative. He'll
Yeah,
either
that's
add
Denis
more
like
orange
really.
or just completely deprive it of
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
Best
I-
looking part of the movie is like the very beginning, like the very like from the Warner Brothers logo through the end of this first orange section with Timmy and Rebecca like running, like finding those guys, like because
It
even
was
like the
just a
very
little-
beginning, what's their Florence Pugh, sorry, Princess, whatever, like her kind of doing her monologue, like voiceover at the very beginning, doing a recap. I was like, man, that looks so cool. That's like a tree of life. That's like a Terrence Malick ash tree that Christopher Walken's sitting under. And then my favorite stuff in this entire movie is the baby, Alia, in the stomach. Every time I watch this movie, and when we get the Paul voiceover, like it immediately cuts to fucking a fetus inside of a belly. I'm like, okay, we're rocking, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
We didn't really even talk about. We haven't talked about.
I thought about earlier. We were talking about something else, but that's like maybe the biggest change from the book. Like Alia, or that's another one. The audiobooks say Aaliyah, and people were correcting me on my video. I'm like, that's just how I heard it, dude. But she kills the Baron in the book. Like she's like a big
that does not
part.
happen here.
Yeah, no, it does not.
I think it's I was gonna say I think it's a great change, but I also think it kind of destroys the sense of time in the movie.
Yeah, the timeline's way different.
Well,
there
is no sense of time in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, I don't know if they say it and I missed it, but I don't know if this was days, weeks, months. All I know is it wasn't too long because that baby isn't born yet. But I don't know. It kind of happens where there's kind of really no real time in the movie either because it's cut so fast and it's just scenes, really. It's just a lot of scenes put together. It's not there's no time, so I don't really know what's going on. And the fact that she's not in the movie at the end, or she's like doesn't get born because there's not that time jump, right? I think it's again like it. I don't think it's like the end all be all, like that ruins the movie. That's not the movie. But it is like another example of like Denis like skirting around weird shit. And I don't know how Messiah is gonna work because it feels like it's gonna catch up to you at one point where it's like you kind of have to address all the weird shit that you've been skirting around for 2 movies. And like there's got to be a point where it's like you have to bring this in, right?
I don't know if he does.
That's the thing.
I think like in Messiah he could jump. Yeah, because we know at least that part 2 doesn't take place over.
Fully grown.
She's just gonna be. I think they might time jump, and she's just fully grown. Like, don't even do the Twilight baby shit. Like,
I think that's what he's gonna do. I think that his vision, and he's very didn't he.
Be like
he did not want to cast a child to play Alia in this film, and he just wants Alia to just be adult Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
And I saw people on Reddit being fucking weird about Alia, and be like,
"Oh, your problem was going to Reddit."
yeah, classic.
Because there's like a scene in there's like a scene in Messiah where Alia's like naked, doing like described as nude, doing like a trial, and everybody was like, freaking being fucking weird after the Anya Taylor-Joy stuff came out. And it's like, and then people were being weird to those people being like, well, Alia's like 13 in that scene in the book. And I'm like, okay, this is all, I need to get off Reddit. But,
Jesus.
That was your first mistake, yeah.
But shout out. I think that, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
No worries.
I was fine with it. I'm personally fine with him just totally skipping her as a child. I think it might. I don't know. I just think there are things in Dune that are, if you get too much in the sauce, it just won't work.
But we need a little sauce. I need a little sauce.
I know, maybe a little more sauce. Some of it is like, I could definitely use a little more sauce, but
it is also one of those things where he said that because it's like what you said, Sydney, where it's like, I think that he can get away from just not doing too much weird stuff, right? If he does Messiah, but there is a certain point in the books where you can't really get away from it anymore, and that's why I don't. And that's part of why I think he only wants to do Messiah, because if he does God Emperor Dune, he has to do a worm person. He has to make a worm person. I don't think he wants to do that.
It'll never happen.
That's what I think he's going to skirt around it as much as humanly possible and make his like. And I think the comparison for this trilogy for me, and the comparison of like where they are at in their careers, they weren't the same age. But I think this is very comparable to Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy as like this more grounded, trilogy of like an adaptation. And I think those kind of go hand in hand for me. And I think that's where like both of those kind of fail for me, as I'm just not interested in like a grounded fantasy.
It's weird that I don't agree with you more. I guess I have just fully come around to thinking like maybe this is the only way that this will work.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they did like, you know, Children of Dune with like James McAvoy, and they did the whole thing where he's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
merging with the sandworm and he's like running really fast and stuff. And I watched that and I'm like, this is cool. Like I like that they just kind of like went for it,
Mhm.
but it didn't become like this definitive adaptation of Dune. Like no one even
Yeah.
thinks
Well, I
about
mean,
it. or
it
talks
was
about
also like a low budget TV show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
exactly. So
I think it's possible under like a really, really like that's the thing is I don't think Denis is like this like creative genius guy. I think he's very smart, and I think he knows how to like make and orchestrate a big budget movie. And he's
right.
very like smart on that technical side, and people like to work with him, and he's able to bring in all these talented people. But I don't like. I think someone more interesting creatively could have made something that I care more about.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
that's fair.
obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I know. I'm just like I have to reiterate this thing for people that are really dumb online that are annoying.
Brian
yeah.
De Palma's Dune.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah,
De Palma's
yeah.
good. Well, maybe not right now. Maybe, but
Brian for
Um,
Brian, man.
You
He's-
hinted at it before. Do we want to talk about the ending, or I guess like the last like 15-ish minutes of the movie?
oh, this is another fucking heater take that I have that I wanted to pitch to Sydney
Yeah,
or
here you
and
go.
you,
Okay.
Kevin. Owen again. Me and Owen talked maybe
We
too
did
much
3
about this movie.
podcasts.
Yeah, we
about this
did.
movie
But,
already.
but I think that Zendaya is a
Oh.
good actress. This is okay.
Yeah.
I think I
you're
might
about
actually
to
shoot
say
me in the
something
head.
Careful.
crazy. You're about to say something crazy.
Yeah, post this on TikTok.
Is okay. Zendaya, I think, has a good performance even in this movie, right?
Okay.
Is Zendaya
Yeah.
miscast though as Shani? I'm so serious.
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, no,
Well, why
I
do you?
don't even have to
Okay.
think about
What
it.
does this mean? For
Yeah,
you? What
elaborate
do you
on
mean?
I think that she's really good in the movie, but it's like I don't know. She's not. It's not giving. Her and Silgar do not feel like they're from the same place to me.
But they're from
you know?
different.
I understand that from the north and the south.
But
I
in
see
the
that
book, they're
fucking movie.
not. I mean, he totally created the concept of like fundamentalists in the South and all that.
Yeah.
Which I think was a good decision. But
Yeah.
continue.
No,
keep
it's
going,
just
guys.
because it comes from this is a very dumb idea of casting, right? But Zendaya, and I feel this way about about Timothy Chalamet as well a bit, but I think it's not as much of a problem because Timothy Chalamet he's literally from a different place, right? But it's like Zendaya is she looks like somebody that's on Instagram, and I think that she talks like somebody that's on Instagram.
Is it the accent? No accent.
I think the accent is part of it. I don't know. But her
No,
performance is really good though. That's why I'm like casting. It's like I don't know if she.
I think
I
I
don't know.
agree
This
to
is
an
insane.
extent.
I'm a crazy person.
I think I to an extent, but I think in those final moments where she is really working with no dialogue and it's only facial expressions, I think she really shines.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really buy her is not necessarily what I mean, but like I'm not sure if like she's my favorite performance for most of the movie, but I do think when she gets a chance to kind of be like a silent actress, she really does a good job of that. My issue in that scene though is the way that shit is framed. I think it's really lazy, and it's again a case of Denis being like
Okay,
close up,
we get it.
close up. No, but I think that scene is like a very pivotal moment. It's
Yeah.
like you have Florence Pugh and Timothy Chalamet standing right next to each other. Why do I need a close up of each of them individually? Like, can we? I think for some reason, Denis, he's very like, we have our storyboards, but he never really cares to block anyone. He really just like, I'm gonna go wide shot, then close up. Like,
Yeah, he's definitely not the king of blocking.
Obviously, he's blocking people, but like, he's not like interested in like. He's not interested in.
This is no rules of the game. When you actually now you mention it,
he's not interested in making like any interesting compositions outside of like his typical
like shapes.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think you could have easily put Zendaya's like back of Zendaya's head and got
Split
arranged.
diopter shot.
Yeah, I don't know,
Timothy with
something
Zendaya
interesting.
as he's saying to Princess You're alive.
Something interesting. I just need something because
No,
like,
you have like a split diopter of no, not split diopter. No, you just have to like straight up split screen. It's like close up of Zendaya, close up of Prince Diala, and then you
Yes,
have like a
split screen.
dissolve,
The Reverend Mother.
like, and then you have like a dissolve of Timothy's face over both of them, right?
Well, I don't know.
Okay,
Even
hold
like the
on.
dream sequences, like there's like it's just like do something interesting, please. Like I'm the whole time
I know
I'm just like
the best we get is
I'm
like a lens
begging.
flare.
I'm like
Yeah.
begging for like something.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
lens flare into orange into okay, now we're on the beach.
It's so like I don't know. There's just not much for me in it. I don't see myself like revisiting that much because it's like once that you have removed narrative tension, right? I know exactly how the story's working. It's like all is left is really that image, and there's nothing for me there, and that's really where this fails. And I just don't think many people are like really interested in that or caring about that. But that's for me, like that is why it doesn't work, and that's like my relationship with that.
I think that's totally fair. That I will say, besides that, though, that was towards the end of his fight with Fade Ralpha. That was the one time watching the movie where I really felt distracted by the editing, and I was like, I don't know if because Timothy got stabbed and he's like starting to die, they're making it feel more frantic by like cutting more, but it randomly just got super choppy, and I didn't really know why, and it was kind of annoying me.
There's a couple parts like that annoy me. Not to talk about the editing again, but because I feel like I'm annoying people about it. But my least favorite cut, which is I'm not crazy about having a least favorite cut in a movie, but my least favorite cut in the whole movie is one of the emotional highs of the film of like this narrative arc. It's when Chani kisses Paul, right? And then and then it cuts to like this crane shot of like and then it feels so it's like the most clunky part of the entire movie maybe for me. And I'm like
I really like that. I really like that scene.
I like that scene too.
But I thought that while it was happening, I was like, why did we do it? But I like the scene. That was kind of the scene that I was gonna reference when you said that Zendaya might be miscast, because I think like them two together when they're on the screen, I'm like, this is perfect for me. And I think like that scene specifically kind of captures like this like I don't like they're like coming of age kind of like it's just like a sweet moment. I was like, this like really works, and it definitely makes the whole ending more impactful. I get what you're saying about the whole crane thing. Yeah, I was like, this is a little weird, but
and then he throws his arm around her, and I'm like,
yeah. But that was like, I don't know, that whole scene worked so well for me. That was like the 3 favorite scenes in the movie, probably.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. That's another thing. I don't think any of this is that bad.
No, but I
gave it 4 stars.
Yeah,
you like the movie. Brody mentioned something. Richard Brody mentioned something about like, of course Denis doesn't like dialogue. He doesn't know how to fucking shoot it. And I was really like thinking about that when watching it again, because I was like, why is like I don't know, every like the way he shoots dialogue is like really boring. I don't know. It's again like with the whole shot thing, but I think especially like when we're shooting, like he's shooting dialogue, it's like most evident, but you can't really do like the balance shot like wide thing when you're doing dialogue, and that's what really like people like about him, and that's like his sort of trademark to an extent. And I think when he's shooting dialogue, it's like very like I don't know, I don't think there's anything there that like
the way he shoots his version of, and I don't know if this is true in other Denis films, but I don't know. I guess that he hasn't worked with Fraser that much, so but I'm not sure if this is true in other Denis films because I haven't seen them in a while. But the way that he hit Denis' version of like the shot reverse shot conversation is centered close up, then centered close up of the other person.
Yeah. It's like holy.
Which I don't know. People like it, but it is a little weird.
And don't forget the shallow focus too.
It's interesting because well, yeah, the shallow focus, but it's like it's interesting because when I listen to him, no, I know, but like when I listen to him talk about it, like those, I don't know if you guys saw, there's like a YouTube video of him like talking about his like favorite shot in every one of his movies, and I was like something that he says is that like he has all these like big grand that like Dune and Blade Runner or whatever, but like he loves like the intimate moments, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
do you though? Because that's like, probably the
He's
part
lying.
that you're the worst at.
It's
Like,
propaganda.
I was like, I don't know, like that's how he talked about it, and I'm just like, that was kind of my justification for the shallow focus stuff, because I was like, it probably makes sense if he like wants these like intimate moments and he doesn't want it to be this big thing, but then he uses it during
Yeah.
some of those big moments too. So I'm like, oh, I guess that's not the reason
Yeah.
for it.
That's
Because there's like
interesting.
because there's like the moment where he walks out to the crowd and like you can't see the crowd, and I was like, well, that's like, I don't, I don't know. Like I get it in the intimate moments, because I'm like,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
really care about these characters, then that makes sense. But then when you do it in like these big wide shots, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't really know what the point of this is.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really been watching a Denis Villeneuve film and been like, this is so intimate. I guess Dune,
Yeah.
I do. I like it. I mean, I like his style for Dune because the award. I guess it's not so like minimalist in the book, but it is like a very like emotionally internal world, and it feels very suppressed. So I think that's
Yeah.
why those intimate moments
Yeah.
with Chani like stand out a lot, and why I appreciated them. But yeah, Richard Brody said something else in that tweet that I liked. I think just that he was talking about his images and how the image itself is the concept. I think it was, and I agreed with that a lot. But I guess it doesn't really bother me how he shoots conversation stuff. I'm not coming at these movies as like a filmmaker like you are, just more as like a Dune fan.
Yeah.
I guess that's like my first lens that I'm looking at it
Mhm.
through. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Denis. I'm just not.
That's I was
But-
gonna ask, because I don't know everyone's like whole relationship with him, and I think that's
Yeah.
important to kind of bring into this conversation of like him as a filmmaker, and he's made plenty of other movies, so like I think it's fair to bring up like how we feel about his rest of his career in relation to this movie.
Yeah, Denny's interesting. I have a similar relationship to him as a filmmaker as kind of you do, Owen, but yours is very specific with Dune. Mine kind of is just like with Denis, the filmmaker, where it's like if James Cameron was my first love, right, as a kid, and then when I got and then as a teenager, Eggers was my second love. When I was
Really?
like,
and then you got Walmart.
shout out
Ridley
Robert
Scott.
Eggers, but and then it was Denis was like
New
kind of my
England
third
boy.
love. Because I watched Blade Runner on a whim with my mom. We just like
Shout out.
rented it.
2049.
2049. Well, what happened was like we were like, we've never seen Blade Runner before, so we just watched Blade Runner on Netflix, the Ridley Scott Blade Runner on Netflix,
Shout
and
out.
then we rented 2049, and we just watched them both that night on a whim. And I was 18 something, I don't know, 17 maybe
It's
even.
like a
I think I was like
decade ago.
17. Okay, can you just sum it down?
How old are you, Doug?
22.
Just say on the.
You're 22? Kevin, how old
Yeah.
are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, I'm also 24. I thought I was
Okay.
the oldest one here, but
Oh no, but and I remember being like, wow, like my head was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And I still love Blade Runner 2049.
When's the last
And
time you've seen it?
we don't need to talk about the years that have passed since I've seen it. But
The Neon, Doug.
anyways, but then I watched his other movies, right? And I think Sicario is really good. And like Arrival is
Sicario's
really
great.
good. And I'm like,
who shot Sicario?
the goat shot Sicario, and also
Shout out-
the goat wrote Sicario. Shout out Taylor Sheridan.
Taylor Sheridan's cool.
Ooh.
I really like Taylor Sheridan.
Oh,
I should watch the.
He's like such
that
a
TV
conservative.
version.
He's like
Oh, okay,
conservative
sure.
favorite
But,
author.
like,
No, I love
right.
Taylor Sheridan.
I'm talking about that
Your
doesn't
dad's
age
favorite
well, though.
writer. There you go.
Yeah.
No, he's
So,
a good
I don't
writer.
know.
Anyway,
Denis, your favorite filmmaker, right, Kevin?
not
Really?
even close.
Oh.
No, wait, Kevin.
He
Kevin,
was,
we have evidence.
We have
You've said that Denis is your favorite filmmaker in writing before.
Yeah, well, like
pull it up,
like
pull it up.
at one
Okay.
point. Okay, I don't think I've ever said he was my favorite filmmaker. I've
What's
probably
your
said he was,
favorite movie?
I probably said he's
He was
one of my
definitely
favorite
one of your
filmmakers.
guys at a point.
Yeah, no, I said he's one of my favorite filmmakers. Probably
He's fallen
several
off the ladder though,
times.
for sure, right?
Yeah, I think it's like I think as time has passed, it's probably, and it wasn't like that was pretty recently, probably that I said. I don't know
Yeah, like a week
how
ago.
recent, but like okay, definitely not a week ago. No, I mean like he was always one of my favorite filmmakers, I think, but that's because I think the only thing that's changed is that for a while, I just thought of them specifically as like, this is a guy who has made movies that I like, and now I like reflect on it, and I'm like, this is not the way that I want someone to make movies,
Yep.
you know, like that's the difference. Where like before, when I was younger, I was like, Prisoners is one of my favorite movies, and Blade Runner is one of my
You're just
favorite
doing the
movies,
math.
and I was like, that's a guy who made both of those things.
Yeah.
And then he made Dune, and I was like,
Yeah.
I like that even more than the other one. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
of course, I like this guy. But now I think my relationship is a little bit more like what I said in my second review of Dune, where I was like, I think he's really good at making this specific kind of movie, like the Dunes and like Blade Runners of the world. And I think he has landed on material with Dune that I think is really interesting. So it's like a perfect mix of like, this is a guy who can make this type of movie that is a type of movie I like. And then he also did it with a story that I really like. But I think in the future, I'm probably going to think less and less about every other movie that he's made. And I want to like, I don't know, I want to be fair and rewatch some of those other movies and actually see how I feel about them. But I have like a strong hunch that if I rewatched like Prisoners today, I would be like, oh, I don't really care that much about this anymore.
I feel that way too. I think Sicario is the only movie from him that I watched, and I was like, man, this like kicks ass.
No, I think I'm gonna rewatch
Arrival,
Sicario.
I'm completely neutral on Arrival, and people like lose their shit over that movie.
People love that movie. I was like,
just was
I've
never
only
a-
seen it one time, to be fair, but when I watched it that time, I was like,
Yeah.
this is the movie that
I
you
am
guys were
not
talking
into
about.
that
I was like,
movie.
this is like,
Well, it's
no,
like
it's cool.
if
for a
you
number
love
of
Interstellar,
reasons.
you're gonna really like Arrival. It's like this.
It
It's the
is,
same
like-
kind of like super earnest, like
Yeah,
uber,
but it's-
like disgustingly earnest,
I
like
think that's a
science
Like the
fiction.
conversation.
concept is cool.
Yeah.
Arrival
Yeah.
made me nowhere near as emotional as Interstellar. Granted, I haven't seen either of these movies in like several years, but like,
Like, you know what I'm
Timothy
like.
Chalamet.
It's like the same.
sure,
like,
it's like the
Yeah,
same. It's like the
true.
same thing. But when I watched Arrival, I don't know. I was like, this is fine.
But I do think that Christopher Nolan and Villeneuve are similar in the way that they feel like they are like engineers making movies, you know. But
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan, I definitely connect with emotionally a lot
Christopher
better.
Nolan made Tenet. I think
That's-
Yeah, Tenet.
this
Yeah,
is-
so Christopher
the
Nolan
thing.
is a yeah.
I think, like I said with The Dark Knight, is I think Denis is still in that phase of like engineer sort of thing. I think Christopher Nolan, who is like, they're not crazy difference in age. I think Nolan has surpassed that, and now he's actually doing interesting things.
Are we in late stage Nolan?
It's like
Yes.
we're in like, I think he's
we're like entering
achieved
it.
that in like an earlier age than maybe he needed to be. But like I think a lot of people who were sour on Nolan's past work have really come around to his last two movies, because I think Nolan has built up such a resume and such like street cred where he's able to like do whatever he wants, and now he can like be more creative, and he's really experimenting. Like Tenet and Oppenheimer are very kind of experimental movies in like a broad sense of like a big movie, like in terms of like a Christopher Nolan movie, like the way that those movies are edited and like the kind of concepts and ideas like visually he's presenting there. I think Nolan is just like kind of Denis with like fully realized like and kind of pushed further. And I think that is like kind of the ultimate, like it's very ironic and funny to me that we're like not praising Denis, but like putting Denis as like, this is the greatest run of films ever made, and like
which is,
all
like,
this stuff. And, like,
sure.
well, Christopher
I know
Nolan kind of
discourse and
exists,
discourse, but that's
and
crazy.
Christopher Nolan is just like Denis, but like on crack, you know?
I think Christopher Nolan's kind of like the perfect example of like what I was saying about Denis, because Christopher Nolan was probably my first favorite director. I like, for everybody ever, like everybody that was born in the past 20 years or whatever. And then as time passed, it was like, I'm not as interested in this guy anymore. Kind of like where I'm at with Denis right now. And then
we'll come around on Denis.
And then like Oppenheimer comes out. And then like Oppenheimer comes out, and I'm like, oh, this is like the best thing ever. And so I feel like there could be a point in the future where like Denis gets to that, and then I look back at like
I don't
all
know
of this
though.
stuff, and I'm like, I don't
Well,
know if I care about
no,
this stuff
'cause-
anymore. But like, because I know he's talented. Like, it's like,
Yeah, but
Denis'
it's
career arc is bizarre
Very bizarre.
sure.
because he started out making these French Canadian movies about school shootings. Now he's
Yeah,
just
right.
like,
Yeah.
now he's like, now everybody talks about him like, oh, he's the sci-fi guy. You know exactly what you're getting every time a movie comes out, and it's like he
Yeah.
made a movie. He made these really fucking dour black and white films about kids dying, and I'm
Well,
like,
he made some like
Yeah.
weird. I don't know, like what is
But
it?
is that man
Maelstrom?
still like? Does that man still with us? You know, like does that exist still inside of him,
Okay.
or
Can
is he
back.
like? Is he lost? Like, is he like the greatest working like studio guy? Like, is he like? I feel like he just exists as like a studio director,
That's
not
fair.
like an artist to me.
It does
Like
feel very, I mean, you look at Dune, it feels very risk averse. Even though Dune is like a really complex thing to take on,
Yeah.
he's
Mhm.
not taking risks within the material.
No.
Again, part of that is why I think it works. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about him as a director and like his filmography as a whole, Kevin, yeah, I agree with what you said. It just happens to be like, I mean, it's no small feat that Denis can like helm these big giant
Yeah, of
projects.
course.
Like, not every director can do that.
No.
But it is just kind of like,
Most
I think
directors
his,
can't.
yeah, like his
Yeah.
style, I think just meshes well with Dune and how I perceive Dune. But I've never really felt anything. I'm like you, Owen. Like and it's good, like that to change over time, like what your taste is. I always used to say
Yeah.
Paul Thomas Anderson was my favorite director, and I love Paul Thomas Anderson. But I think it might be M. Night, dude. Like, because he's
Shout
like,
out.
I think I'm literally at the point in my life where I'm like, M. Night is my favorite director because no other director's films like make me feel the way that his films do. And like, I love Raimi's
fucking
visual style.
rocks.
I just like kooky shit. And yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a bummer that Denis doesn't do that. But in this case, it works for me.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's how I am. I don't know. That like, because there's like people who make a number of movies that I really like, but I don't like personally connect with that. I don't know. Like when people will like bring up movies that I like and they're like, and they think I really like this person, I'm just like, that's not always the person that I like. Like there's like specific people where I'm like, you're making movies the way that like
Mhm.
is for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing to compare.
I think
but-
that's like an important thing to kind of grow into and kind of understand the more you kind of watch movies, is because it like I think a lot of like the younger audience online and like the younger film community is like very structured into like this like false sense of objectivity and like these are the best movies, and it's more about like who are you and like what are you resonating with artistically and like emotionally. And like I don't think that is like very much a focus on a lot of people who are watching these movies. It is like,
yeah,
because I think Denis movies come off as like very like this is what movies are like supposed to look like, and like this is how they're supposed to act, and they're almost like a fucking like magic show of like there's like this wall of like this is how it's supposed to be, but there's not a lot of Denis in it for me outside of like his architecture. It's like him as like a person I don't really get through the movie, which is like for I don't know, I think it makes sense why so many people are attracted to him in that kind of stage of like understanding and kind of emotional kind of connection to like the art form.
But I think you're right. Like, it's kind of like there is this whole, like, I don't know what the fuck the term film bro actually means anymore, but it's kind of like, but it's like identity movie watching. Like, oh, I love Interstellar. Like, I love Arrival. There's like, oh, I want to be this kind of person, therefore I like this movie. You know, like it's like their mind was made up before they even saw it.
It's funny because like that completely like I don't know. Whenever I used to do those like live streams with like Letterboxd reviews, I was like, this is like what erases people's identities for me, because when they all like these specific movies that they're told to like, and then I see them and I'm like, I know nothing about you now.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I could see your top 100 movie, like your 100 favorite movies,
it's the same
and
guy
not have
as the
a
next
single
guy.
idea of like what your personality is. And like that's a big I don't know, that's a
well,
big
that's why
deal.
I'm always
like,
I always kind of try to reiterate that. It's like I should be able to, like, if you're showing me 100 of your favorite movies, I should have like a lick of an idea of like what you're interested in.
Yeah.
I don't, and like this is like very like Letterboxy and like like annoying, but like I don't know. I think there's like a level of like kind of when you're watching a movie, like it should be a personal relationship to that,
Sure, yeah.
project. And I think it's very much like either it's like good or bad rather than like a personal relationship.
I don't like when people make it so matter of fact. Like that's like you said it before, Owen, but like that's a conversation I literally had with my friend the other day where he was like, I was watching this like really bad TV show, but it's so fun to watch, and I was like, so don't like. Is it bad
That's
then?
a whole
Like,
other
I was
That's,
like, you
now
know
we're
what I
circling
mean?
back
I'm
to
like,
Madam Web.
the-
We're back to
Yeah.
Madam Web.
no,
talk.
I know.
Guilty
I'm just-
pleasure.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm
well,
just-
you
like,
like
it's
it,
like-
like so, like what? I don't know. It's like
That's
you're
what I
Exactly.
told. That's what I
you're-
told to him. I was like, you're just like
drawing
told to
you
like
to it.
things. Yeah, I don't. That's what I was trying to explain to him. I was
Yeah,
like, you're
it's
just like
more
told
like-
that things are supposed to be a certain way, and like
Good or
you're
bad.
only and I'm
rather
like,
than,
like
it
it's
made
not.
me
There's not
feel
just
a
two
certain way.
options.
It's
Yeah,
always like this is the best sci-fi movie ever made, rather than like this is what I like, connect to this movie.
That's
Yeah.
what I hate.
Top
is that
5
this-
horror movies ever made. This is
Yeah, like his
Is
films
Dune the
become
best
too
science fiction
simple.
movie in
Like,
50 years?
yeah. It's like
Why
what?
Why do
what
we
the
even
fuck
have
does
to
that?
talk about
What
it
is
like
that?
that?
Well, it's like immediately when Dune 2 comes out, it's like
Does Denis
this
Villeneuve have
is
the best
best
four-film
sequel of
run of
all
all
time.
time?
no, but it's like
Is-
immediately we pin it
is
against
Dune the
Avatar
greatest
2.
sequel
We pin
ever?
it against.
I didn't
we
know
pin it
you'd
against-
seen every sequel.
It's already
Yeah.
pinned against
Right.
Oppenheimer. It's like what are we? It's such like a sports like comparison like thing. It's
It is the
very bizarre.
sportification of movies.
No, it is. It's evil. It's evil. And also, is Denny on the greatest run of all time? That's the worst discourse that has come out of this because like it's all people that don't even that have seen 2 Stanley Kubrick movies going. Is Denis Villeneuve on the greatest run of all time? You haven't seen a fucking Bergman film, and you're talking about the greatest run of all time. What are we talking about?
Someone actually compared Denis to Kubrick.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
a real.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, that was shit that was
Yeah.
happening, dude, and I was losing my mind.
It's like 2001. It's like so important whenever like they say that. It's like 2001 may be more important, but Dune Part 2,
Yeah, it's like,
that's
what
the
does that
best
mean?
movie. Like it's like what do you?
Yeah,
I don't know what that even means.
Well, that's like
first
the-
off.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that does this, and maybe this is an annoying thing that I do. But I think like part of that is also just like content brain, where like you're making
Oh, yeah.
TikTok and like you're
Yeah.
doing stuff for the internet. So in my head, I'm like I have to make like lists for videos because like that's what people want to listen to, and like that's what people are gonna like. And then like as a result of making something like that, then I'm allowed to make a fucking video that gets 4 likes that is like something I want to talk about, you know?
Yeah.
But like that's like if that's like the whole engine, like if all of like film discussion on the internet on like TikTok and Twitter and everything is like framing things this way because that's how people want to talk about them, then like you can't really like get around it because it's just like
It's
Drive
how-
My Car, a
it's how
top
people
5
wanna-
movie over 3 hours long.
yeah, it's like that's like how
Yes.
people want to talk about movies. So like there's no like getting around that.
I think it is just social media and like this feedback loop of like I want if my stuff isn't getting likes, I feel like no one's listening to me. But to get people
Yeah.
to listen to me, I have to hyperbolize. That's why I got off TikTok for a while because it's like every single time I posted, I felt like I was performing and I was trying to like make the same content that other people were making that was like getting likes. And I'm trying to like untrain myself from doing that and just like say stuff
Yeah.
that I want to say. But it's like, Dune Part 2 comes out and it's like, no, I did love the movie, but I don't want to say that it was the greatest movie of all time. But then will no one care about my opinion?
Yeah,
And why do I care
exactly.
that if people care about my opinion?
No,
I think I made I made a video. A lot of my videos are so bad. It's just me in my car, like doing 30-second little like takes. But I made a video where I was just like, yeah, man, Dune Part 2 is so good. It is such a fun moment right now, and I think that it's cool that people are. I love it when people are excited about movies. That's the thing. I
Uh-huh.
like when people are excited about movies because
I'm
movies
so
are like the
happy
only
for
thing
everyone who
going
gave
on
5
for me.
stars. I really
Um,
am.
But it's like I think that like no, it's you don't have to say like it's not the best sci-fi movie in 30 years because every Matrix movie is less than 30 years old. You know what I mean?
Shout out.
But it's like but it's like and I kind of say that and I'm like it's not the best sci-fi movie in 30 years. And people in my comments were like, you're a fucking idiot, dude. And I'm like, whoa.
But that's like but that's like half the like I don't know when I watch not to like hype up Doug too much because I don't want to give him too many compliments, but like when I watch when you say like those are bad videos because like you're sitting there in your car talking, but it's like you're doing the thing that everybody else, you're doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Like our friend Max, I was like I messaged him about this yesterday, but I was listening to their podcast and the whole beginning of their podcast, they're just talking about how everybody who makes movie TikToks, every video sounds the exact same. Like it's like the same like inflection in everybody's voice, and you talk the same way. And then I watch my videos, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that thing as well. Like I'm like, I'm doing the same thing that everybody else is doing.
But I
Here
think
are
all
my
three of
top
you-
10 performances in Dune Part 2. Like, yeah.
Shout out George Carmi for that one.
It is. It's like there are some. I think all of you guys like make really interesting and cool content that I love. There are some people who it's like I'm like, haven't you made this video 3 times already?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
why are we
sometimes
just
sometimes I
returning?
forget
Yeah,
that I'm
it's the
making
new
video.
cycle. They can just redo it.
Yeah, exactly. New
Yeah.
movies coming out from a director, so let's rank their filmography
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, you need 15 prompts with the same thesis, and every movie you got to do those same prompts over
Yep.
and over again
Yep.
for your, and that's how you get 300,000 followers on TikTok.
But I do
a
feel
science.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like I feel film talk changing a little bit. Like there was that era where it was like a new thing and everyone was making that content and they amassed all these followers.
Yeah.
And now it feels like people are maybe getting a little bit like tired of that sort of
Well,
thing.
I think there's like an
I don't know.
appeal. I think there's an appeal for people. Like we had this conversation with, I guess, like Hat Guy and like Owen in
Shout
general,
out. Shout out.
where it's like where he talked about. I don't know why I'm referencing him like that, but I think people that's how people,
Shout out
that's how people
Alex.
would know him. Yeah, shout out Alex, but like that's how people would know him on the internet. Anyway, like he said that thing about Owen where it's like, you know, Owen has like 7,000 followers or whatever, but like everybody knows who he is, and like now you're getting posted on fucking Reddit threads or whatever. But it's like people like care about that, and I think all like, you know, nothing against people with like large followings, but like I think a lot of those people probably like blend together for someone, and like people care about like that like genuine like actually refreshing opinion that like something that like they get out of like one of Owen's videos, and they're like, you know, they might not follow you because they probably hate the opinion every time, but they remember you for that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
It's an
like
actual
a significant, like that's a significant
Yeah.
thing, I think, because like they want to hear these things.
I think it will always exist in a place where, or there will always be a place that exists where like people's actual like thoughtful opinions. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
like a space that exists perfectly
On
for
social
that,
media,
because
yeah.
I don't think people
Or
really
TikTok
necessarily
now.
are interested in that as a whole. Like I think there are people, and there's plenty of people, and there's people that listen to our podcast that are really great, that are actually interested in like hearing people's opinions. But I don't know if there's like everyone is interested in being like, let's hear like some criticisms about this movie that he still liked, you know, because it's immediately like, oh, you're a contrarian and you hate fun and you're doing this for like a show.
I
And
couldn't
think,
believe the reaction to your 3.5-star review of Dune.
yeah, I dropped it now after I actually dropped it last night because I was like,
Oh
I'm really
god, the new
annoyed with
comments.
this.
Oh,
are
you
gonna-
dropped it?
The comments
I
are gonna
did.
start pouring
I
in.
know.
They're
I
gonna
dropped it to
come
3
back.
stars,
To
which I
3.
still think 3 stars.
Yeah,
Like,
that's yeah.
I still like the movie. Like, there's parts that I like, but I was really thinking about it last night, and I was like, I don't like this movie as much as I like, because I almost, after watching it for the first time, gave it 4 stars, and a part of that was like me, like the whole time I was watching the first movie, I was like fucking coping in my brain, trying to like find ways to like make myself like the movie more than I did,
Yeah.
and it ends on such that high note. So I was like, oh, I might give this 4 stars. But then like walking back to my dorm, and then like I gave it 3.5 stars, and I wrote that long review and whatever. And I saw it again, and I liked it less on that watch, but I didn't give it less because I was like, I can't, like, I don't know, I'm so connected to Dune, and this means a lot to me. So I was like, giving this 3 stars is like stabbing myself, like, in a way. Or like a younger version of myself. And so it was like, and again, like all of my discussions online have been like very like, this is like a conflicting, weird thing that I have, like this relationship I have with this movie and these movies and Denis and Dune in general is like confusing to me, and I don't really know how to understand it. And then all of the the reactions to that are like very bizarre. People aren't really interested in like, a lot of the comments are really funny because it's like, we don't really care about you. We just want like, just give us the rating. And it's like very like a transactional like thing of like the way that this like online space works. And it's like, just tell us the movie is good or not.
It's
Fuck off.
depressing.
Like,
That's
it's so weird and like kind of gross.
It's funny how Letterboxd, I really do not think lends itself to long form film discussion at all. which is very silly because I think it was
Or
kind
like
of
film
designed with that
discussion,
in
like,
mind.
period.
But I think that yeah, but I don't know. I think that I wish that Cinema Joe, shout out, kept doing a Substack, because I think that like House of Cinema is great, but I think that there's a lot of value in writing, and I think that Substack was good. But it's like, but like for like long form writing like that, like you have to do something like off platform like Substack, because people do not give a fuck on Letterboxd at all. Like, and
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, why are you trying so hard? You know, if you write something really long, and they're like, you know, I don't know.
But I
Like,
think with all
Yeah.
of these things, there's like you like have to keep in mind that like these people exist, but it's always going to be a smaller community than like the bigger one. Like it's even with movies where it's like the movies that make money, you know? Like it's like
Yeah.
there's all like Marvel movies are always going to make money. Like we're still going to talk about
No.
other you know, like it's like I think it's the same thing on TikTok, and I think it's the same thing on Letterboxd, where it's like you have people who make like thoughtful, intentional reviews on any platform. They're never going to be like the most popular people, and like
Mhm.
I think I'm pretty like fine with that. I'm just like I don't know, because I don't really care if like more popular people do stuff in a way that's like super palatable and like very easy to
Yeah.
agree with,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like fine, like go for it, like
No,
whatever.
I
Like
totally understand it. And it's not like something that I've never like got really mad about like any of the like comments or anything. I think a lot of them are funny. But it's
yeah,
like I understand that the people that are reacting the way they do not like agree with the way I view things. So like obviously they're going to react differently. So it's like it's never been something that like totally bothered me. But it is just kind of like sad, maybe not, but like I don't know, it's just kind of disappointing that that's like the situation and like the culture that we kind of
It's-
exist
Well,
in.
yeah, it's like
yeah.
I loved your review and I appreciate it so much and respect that you were like honest about it, because I have felt that way about a movie, even if it wasn't Dune, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, how
Yeah.
are you not, do these people not have internal and critical thoughts that they're like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what?
It's
Like
like, do they not have
sometimes I
brains?
feel that way. Like, and I find that those movies, like, I didn't like Nope. That was like the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that
Yeah,
review,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
That's
damn,
and
fucked
that
up, by the way.
yeah, I know.
That's
Sorry,
fucked up of
like,
you.
but it was like I find that those movies are when I like grow the most as
Mhm.
a movie watcher, because I have to really think about why I didn't like it and like why the hell did I not like this
Yeah.
and everyone else did, and just kind of like accept. And that's when you really, I think, realize that movies are truly just like a purely emotional experience. And I think that people are trying to like uh quantify movies like, oh, acting 6 out of 10, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cinematography 8 out of 10. It's like that's just not what's going on here. That's like not what art is. And
No.
whenever anyone else like goes against that like trend that's going on right now, they like don't know what the fuck to do with themselves.
Even I think you can even take it a step further, where it's like when it's like those people that review movies and break it down, like yeah, like you said, like acting 6 out of 10, cinematography, whatever, like that's idiotic. But I think that even people that compare your star rating of one movie to the star rating of another movie,
Oh my god,
and like,
hate
and I'm
I
like, no,
don't like that at
you
all.
don't understand art. You have such a fucking
Yeah.
disgusting relationship with, if you're like, whoa, explain, like you gave this such movie 3 stars, but you gave this movie 3.5 stars,
I
and I'm like,
hate when people bring that shit up.
they're different movies, dude. I don't like.
I
I'm
know
like, I did
I'm
not think
not
about this
rating
at
them
all.
in relation to each other. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
rating them like, yeah, I hate that.
Dude, there's not like it's also frustrating because there's not a way, other than like the fact that we're talking about it like this on a podcast right now, but like even putting that aside, there's not really a way to like communicate that to people who feel like who watch movies that way. I feel like because like you see somebody like Owen making these videos where like he tries to say that to people, and like every comment is just negative.
Yeah, it's really I don't think
like
it's
really,
possible.
I think like you just have to like, you either
People-
like figure it out at some point, or like you're just never gonna figure it out. Maybe like you might just go the
They'll
rest of
come
your life.
around.
Yeah.
No, they won't. They
No,
won't.
No, I mean a lot of them.
What do you mean they'll
won't.
come
No,
I
around?
think
yeah, a
that
lot of
is
them won't.
most people,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I think well, yeah, I did say it doesn't work, but I have gotten like plenty of like messages, and there's been like some really nice people that have like said like that I've helped like them see
Yeah.
film differently, and like just talking about it in this like sense and like on a podcast I think is important to. It's not going to make everyone like change and see the like the way they relate to movies differently, but I do think people do like people can kind of grow, and I think
Yeah.
stuff like this helps. Just kind of talking about film in like a way that most like content creators aren't doing that. I think that is important.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I know you guys have joked on the podcast before about deleting old letterboxd reviews. Oh, I do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Because I
No,
look
I
at my
do it.
reviews from 2021, I'm like, that girl did not know what the fuck she's talking about.
I hate when it gets a like, dude. When it gets a
No,
like,
no.
and I'm like, someone read this. Like, why would you do that? But
Anytime
then
I
realized,
see that, like if someone likes a review or like an old TikTok video, if I click on that, like 60% chance like I'm deleting it. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's
I
like,
don't
oh, that's
like.
gone.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I leave most of them up because in my head I'm
Sometimes
just
I'll
like, this
edit
is a
them.
nice. Yeah, sometimes I'll edit them, which is like
I'll
that
make
also
this-
feels fake.
I'll clean it up a
I
little.
do.
There was
I
one-
edit them and I just delete the words, and then I leave everything, and then I leave.
Yeah, just
so
leave.
yeah, and
Yeah,
'cause
no,
I
no.
did
I
that
still want
with
the log.
yeah,
There
because
was-
the North. I deleted my Northman review, and somebody and Owen brought this up to me because Owen got a notification for it.
I
and was like,
commented
oh my
on that
God.
review 2 years ago, and then someone commented on it, and it was like, "Where did your review go?" And I got a fucking notification on my phone.
It's for my like fucking like 2021 Northman review that it's
Yeah, yeah.
gone. It's actually just not there anymore because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's like a review of that Jonah Hill documentary where I was like sort of positive about it, like not like super positive,
Mhm.
but like I was like sort of positive, and this was like when I had no Letterboxd followers, so it was my most liked review. And then I just like after the whole Jonah Hill thing happened, I just edited it and I dropped it to like 1 star, and I just changed the review to say like horse shit, and like all these people who liked this like positive review still have it liked, and they're just gonna go back and be like, why did I like this review? I don't know, very silly. Anyway,
Oh, man.
do
So
we wanna
okay,
circle back and
Dune
wrap up Dune
Messiah?
2 stuff.
will we be seated for Dune Messiah?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
God, that movie's gonna be fucking peak, dude.
But
That's
it
gonna be the best
ended-
movie ever made.
Yeah, but Dune 2 ended on like a very interesting.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think it
well,
with
I wanted
Shawnee
to-
was very
Yeah,
intentional.
I wanted
bummer.
to say that when we were talking about it before, but I was like, that's like one of my favorite things that it ends on her. I thought that was a really
But she
good
doesn't
choice.
really play like that role in Messiah, so I'm wondering if they're gonna
Right.
change some
But
stuff.
I think it's important specifically to like the message of the movie that like
Right.
these are like these are the people, like the real people who get hurt and like when power gets involved, you know, like, and I think like
Mhm.
making it that personal and making it about her kind of like drives that point home that like somebody has been hurt by this ascension to power, and it's not just like a thing
Mhm.
that is like a harmless action or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I really like that part.
I
That was
liked it
awesome.
too.
when do you think we're gonna get Dune Messiah? Because Denis like, hey, I
Years.
want to do these
Years.
other movies
Yeah.
in 3 years.
Yeah, I think it'll be the next movie he made.
Really?
It'll be the next movie he does. It takes a
Yeah.
long time to shoot movies though, so I think it'll be like 3 years.
Do you think the Bene Gesserit show will be good?
No.
Oh,
Me
yeah.
either.
That's like
no.
a Max thing.
Yeah, that
what's
shit
the
has
deal
been
with
in
that?
post-production hell, and
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean that shit's been.
yeah, they did like
What?
reshoots for it. It's like, bro, the news about it is like, it's like sounds like a Marvel production. That shit is gonna be not good.
Yeah.
How hard is it to
Oh,
like make
no.
a show anymore?
I
Ju-
don't know.
It-
Well, it's
who's-
also
I don't think
Warner
people know
Brothers
how to make TV
weird
anymore.
stuff
Actually,
is going on. at
TV
Warner
is
Brothers.
not-
no,
TV
I
is like
can I be-
AI.
We're cooked.
I'm an enjoyer of
Well,
television.
wait, hey, whoa, Shogun. You watched the
Okay,
first
yeah,
episode
yeah.
of Shogun.
No, yeah. You're right. I mean,
I've
listen,
heard good
I'm not saying
things.
There's some
no-
juice here.
I'm not saying
That
there's no
Succession
good
Is
TV
there
TV
any
shows.
juice left in television?
No, Succession is like truly like a landmark. I don't want to go off on a complete tangent,
No,
but like
please.
truly like a landmark thing, because I think people don't know how to end television shows anymore. I just think writers have forgotten how a TV show is supposed to end, and
Kevin,
Succession
why
is the
end it
only
if you can make more money?
right. Well, that's like
Exactly.
that's the problem. And then like you watch Succession and you're like, oh, we could still do this, but I don't think it's going to happen much anymore. I think TV is kind of cooked.
Yeah. Since
Like, it's
Kevin
just
Costner
over.
moved back to movies, it's I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's
I just
over.
don't
There's no
think
more.
TV's gonna-
Denis, TV has corrupted movies.
Yeah.
Television.
He did say that.
It,
Also,
it kind of no, yeah. Actually,
so
we should talk about
fucking
that, but we should
real.
talk about that before
Well,
before we
it's-
finish.
But yeah, he's still
Because
real.
that was
That's
a
so
big
based.
thing.
He's
Bro
real.
wants to
I
make like silent movies. I didn't know that.
He should. Fuck it. He should.
Bring
I don't know. I don't know
Zendaya,
how you saying
dude.
all that because okay, Sydney, you probably land on this too. But I saw after he said that, I just saw the actual quote raw, and I was like, wait, he's so based. And
Wait,
then I
he
saw,
should,
and then I
his
saw.
Cleopatra movie. Fucking cut the dialogue and sound off that bitch.
That would be sick.
That would be cool. It's probably going to be a Netflix film.
I saw
But that would be cool.
the fucking
Yes.
basketball podcast I listened to brought that quote up on their podcast. I was like, oh, people really
Really?
care. I was like, people really care that he said this.
Wow.
Like they were
People
like,
are using it as like an example of like director brain rot and like how like filmmakers are stupid.
Like they brought it up. They brought it up at the end of the. And I
Because
love these
people
guys,
still
but
like
like they brought it
television.
up at the end of the basketball podcast, and they were like, "This is a crazy thing to say about television." I was like, "Is it?" Though?
Yeah, I don't really
Well-
watch TV, so I wasn't offended.
Fuck TV.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is
Fuck TV.
90% of people just see them as like entertainment, right? So if they're not gonna, they don't really. Most people don't see the difference of TV and movies. Besides, like one of them I go to the movies and one of them I don't.
Yeah.
But most
It's like
people don't go to the
TV is-
movies, right? So
Yeah. Like TV is for writing. Like this is like the medium
that's the big
for
thing.
writing. Like it's like that's like and
that's
like,
the
has a
issue.
good
And
point because like
what
this is why
Denise
you
talking
watch.
about is
Yeah.
television is a writer's medium, and films
And people
nowadays are
and people want
so
that in
narrative
movies because
focused,
they watch TV.
and like that's the thing. It's like Marvel movies are television, right? They're
Yeah.
like narrative
It's the most
focused.
complicated way to ever do TV, but they are television. Yeah.
They are television. they are television because it's Kevin Feige is the showrunner, and he's got his like fucking web of things, and then he's like the directors are basically acting as like guys, like making sure everything's under control.
Yeah,
but
like
they're
TV
not,
directors. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Marvel is like the biggest thing. Well, obviously it's falling kind of down right now, but like at its height, it was like the biggest thing, and it very much influenced the culture. And so that kind of definitely, like, I agree with Denis, and I agree with him talking about dialogue to an extent. Like, I don't 100%, but like it's like the things that he's saying, I agree with.
He's
Like,
not
people,
saying,
like
he's
when
not
the
saying,
guy-
like,
the
movies
guy you
can't
hate-
have good dialogue.
no, like people tweeted at me and were like, "This is like almost like straight up like a Owen quote from like the podcast," and like I do agree. And it's like for me though, maybe he like is doing that. Like it does show in his movies. I just like the visuals that he's interested in. That's like the end of the end of the line point. It's like the visuals that he is interested in, and the way that he thinks, like the way that he likes the way the movies are. I do not agree with. Like we don't align
Yeah.
there. So I
Yeah,
think,
but
like,
you agree
He
with
definitely
sentiment.
cares about the image, even if
Yeah.
yeah,
you
no,
don't
for sure.
love
Even if you
what
don't
he
like it,
makes.
yeah.
I've listened. I talk, listen to Greg talk, listen to the editor talk. They definitely care about what they're doing. We just care. Like we're just different in the way that
Just don't
we
see-
see
yeah.
things and our like
Yeah,
sensibility
that's okay.
and stuff.
I do agree with what he's saying. Like it feels like, creating an image for certain modern TV shows is like an inconvenience to them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
you
just
don't,
doing
like,
lowest
see-
common denominator stuff.
Yeah, you don't see TV shows that look good very often.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
people don't
even
care.
the good ones don't look good usually. Like that was like a thing that I don't know. Like there's like exceptions, of course, and that's like even more of a slap in the face when like somebody actually tries to make a TV show look good and they get no credit for it.
Well, even
Because,
that's
like,
like Shogun, right? That's like it's
Yeah.
kind of like the big show right now. Since I mean, it's barren, it's rough out here for TV. But
Yeah.
Shogun, it's like after the premiere of Shogun, right? There were some like TV bros being like, "We're back. The image is
TV
back.
bros.
TV's never looked
Yeah.
this good." And I'm like, it looks fine. You
No,
know,
yeah,
it's-
it doesn't look
fine.
great, but I'm like, but I
Bars on
think
the floor.
yeah, I just feel like the intention, I don't know. That's why I was so pissed when Bill Hader didn't win Best Directing for TV, because I was like, listen, I'm not saying Barry looks great, but I'm like, there's intention. Like this is like a guy making a TV show who's like actually directing the TV show, which like doesn't like
Uh-huh.
that's not happening with a lot of the other ones. I don't know. Anyway, we're going off on a lot.
Yeah,
of
we're
tangents.
kind of. I'm sorry, Sydney.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
Uh,
Super interesting.
Yeah,
any
my final
closing
thoughts
Dune 2 thoughts? Final
for
thoughts?
Dune 2 is that Anya Taylor-Joy is the greatest, most powerful actress that has
Yeah,
ever
Doug,
lived.
you were so hyped. Were you sad you only got to see her for like 2
No,
seconds?
because it was like the
She looked you
greatest
dead in the
5
eyes and
seconds.
said,
I
I
love
know
you.
it was. Oh my god!
She says, "I'm Anya Taylor-Joy and I'm in this movie."
Yeah, no, that was it. That was so sold, dude. Oh my
So
gosh.
how do you feel about the fact that you knew that going in? Because that was a big conversation online.
I
know,
think
that
you
was
hear her
offensive to-
voice before you see her, and I think I would have gotten it. If
You
I
would
didn't know
have
that
been
she was
like,
in it.
"That's
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy's voice."
I do
No, he's
think
he's
I would,
way too
yeah.
tapped in. He's
Oh.
way too. He
I
knows
didn't think
all
that
her
you
work.
heard her actual voice until after you saw her face.
I'm trying to remember it. There's so much stuff that happens in this movie.
Yeah,
I feel
a lot
like
of gone from.
she has like a very like I know that's Anya Taylor-Joy when I see her, but I feel like there could have been like a way that like I watched the movie and like did not know. Like I totally could
Yeah.
like miss that. Which I
Like
think is
you
like
see her and not knowing that was Anya Taylor-Joy.
I think like it's such a big like I made it be like, wait, was that Anya Taylor-Joy? Like I don't know. I think
it would
like
no, it would have been confusing watching it fast
because
and
it's
not
like
knowing.
it's so small. Like she's in it for like such a like most of the time it's like
Yeah.
that little baby like thing in the womb sort of
Some
thing
people
going
didn't
on.
even put together that
Incredible
she was the
image.
baby.
Yeah, that's like
It
a
was
but
so-
people are
Wait,
dumb.
how?
People are
Wait.
stupid.
Because people are
Yeah.
stupid, Doug.
Yeah. But it's I think it is interesting that like it was I don't know, it was such a big conversation online that like because it was like spoiled for everyone. And then she was at the premiere and all that stuff.
That's what annoyed me, that they were like, Denis, how did you keep this a secret so long? And he was like, oh, it was so hard. I'm like, well,
He
you
was in-
didn't keep
he
it a secret except for like the 10 people who were at like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
London
yeah.
premiere.
He
or
didn't keep it
whatever.
a secret. Also, like, what did they shoot? Like, they did like one day on set. Like, how I don't know. That probably is pretty easy to hide one
Apparently,
day.
Rebecca Ferguson didn't even know. Yeah, true.
No,
It's
yeah, I
kinda
saw
hard.
that. She didn't know that.
Well,
It
because
was-
guys, the scene that she's in, it's like nobody else was there. It was just it was
Yeah,
like a day on
it
set
was
with
just
her on the
her.
beach.
You think
Yeah.
she saw it on like a studio? I'm sure they didn't fly her out.
No,
for that
no,
one
no.
day.
Like
It was
shot by Denis
on
through
location. It was.
FaceTime.
Okay.
I would put money down that was on location in
Okay.
some beach in
Yeah,
Africa or whatever.
they-
Like,
they flew her out and said one day fly her back.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's how those big movies roll.
it's
I
probably
guess.
like on a down day on Furiosa.
Anya
Yeah.
down day.
Oh, I can't, dude. I hadn't seen the I had not seen the Furiosa trailer in IMAX until before Dune, because I always arrive to movies. It's not on purpose. I'm just chronically late. I never see
Yeah.
the trailers. I'm so excited for Furiosa.
Yeah.
Like, seeing
my
that
God,
trailer
dude.
in IMAX was insane.
I've seen the Furiosa. I'm not. This is not an exaggeration. This is not a hyperbole. This might even be an understatement. I've seen
Best
it
movie of all time.
minimum 50 times. Like the trailer, minimum 50
50?
times.
Wow. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
why
like
people were shitting on the trailer once it came out. Like, that is George Miller's Mad Max universe.
because
Yeah.
people are fucking stupid, Sydney.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love how
That's
that.
the-
I love how
that's
that's the
the
thesis
thesis
of
of
this
this
whole
episode.
podcast. Yeah,
That's the
Like,
thesis of this episode. The people are
Um,
stupid, and
oh
Anya
my
Taylor-Joy
gosh.
is the greatest actress ever.
I
There
love
we
her
go.
as Alia. I wanted her for
such-
Irulan, but
This is
I
way better for her.
changed my
This is
mind.
better
the
for
thing
her. Yeah.
is
She's better.
when Florence Pugh got cast, I was like, oh, I like Florence Pugh, but I would have preferred Anya Taylor-Joy, and that was like the two people that were kind of in that. But I think this is like far more interesting.
She's
I
great.
think it
She has a
worked
very
out really
alien
well.
like beauty
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
to
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
yeah.
That's great.
And I
The
think that
blue
Florence Pugh
eyes and-
works better
Yeah.
than her for Princess Oran too, actually.
Yeah, I think Florence is fine.
but
Yeah, I thought she was good. I like her. for it.
I thought she did exactly what she needed to do. And I think
Right.
that's actors should do that sometimes.
Yeah, that is what they should do. Yes. Like, I'm really happy when they
Normalize that.
do that. We should.
Um,
I think we should
okay.
expect that.
anything else we want to add, or are we all doomed out?
Good movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
think
We have
it's
like
good.
2 more hours we
I
have to
love,
record.
I love it.
Oh, if we said he leaves.
Okay, we can wrap it up there. Sydney, all your links are going to be in the episode description.
Thanks.
and
Thanks for having me,
thank
guys.
you- Yeah, thank you for
Thank you
being
so much for coming on.
here. Okay, we're going to talk about Oscar nominations now. We're going to lock in our predictions before the big night, because by the next
When's the big
podcast
night?
episode, the Oscars will have happened. It's March 10th, I believe, is the Oscars.
days?
That's Sunday. Yeah. So we're gonna lock in our final guesses, I guess, for who is gonna win each award, and then we can reflect on who does the best. And we can also, just cover the nominees for one last time in general before we find out who the winners are.
What
we're gonna go
order are we doing the
yeah,
awards
so we're
in?
going to go in alphabetical order because that is
Okay.
how the Oscar website has them listed. So that's the easiest way to go through them. So we're going to start with actor in a leading role. Probably the thing to put out for most of these awards is that, like, 17 or 18 of them at this point are like kind of locks. This one's still up in the air though. This one's still up in the air, I think.
You want to name who the people like the list?
Yeah. So I'll name all the nominees in every award. But for actor in a leading role, we have Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. I'll lock in my guess immediately. I'm sticking with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, I think that it's there was some discussion actually about I saw some people say like, wow, man, it's a good thing that Dune Part 2 got pushed because then Oppenheimer wouldn't have won any awards. And I'm like,
I don't think that.
I don't know about that. But
I mean,
silly people.
yeah, I think that Cillian Murphy is like, he's gonna win.
I hate when you do that shit, dude.
What?
You pronounce his name wrong on purpose just to piss me off.
I didn't even know what you're talking about. Yeah, Cillian Murphy. I think that Cillian Murphy is gonna win, right? Sorry.
Yeah. Doug's cat is going AWOL behind him.
Yeah, no, I think Cillian Murphy's gonna win. What do you agree, Owen?
Yeah, I think it'd be really dumb to bet against Oppenheimer in most of these categories. And I think the kind of push that Cillian has, if in a perfect world with these nominees, I'd love to see Paul Giamatti on that stage.
Sure.
But I just can't bet against Cillian Murphy.
Well, the awkward thing would be if Oppenheimer wins 8 Oscars and Cillian Murphy loses Best Actor. You know what I mean?
Domingo's up there.
No, well, no, not like that. But you know what I mean. I'm just saying, like, it would be
I would love it if Bradley Cooper won and just the world would be on fire.
I'm so honest. If I was like a voter, like if I was allowed to vote, I would vote for Bradley Cooper. Like in the
I
real
don't remember
Oscars.
what it was last year, but I remember saying a very similar thing. Like if this person, I just would love this person to win because I know people would lose their shit.
Was it Cate Blanchett and Tar winning over?
No. Okay. It was something sillier.
Okay.
I think it was Ana de Armas and Blonde.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You wanted Ana de Armas to win.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
people, not even because I think that's like the best performance, just because I think people lose their shit. But if I was picking like the best performance would be Paul Giamatti here for me. But I think Cillian Murphy for sure will take this.
People already know how I feel about Cillian Murphy. I've made that much obvious already. Actor in a supporting role. Listen, let me do the nominees first. We've got Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. This is one of the biggest locks of the night. Robert Downey Jr. is my prediction.
Who would you want, though? I'm interested.
Listen, I think Robert Downey Jr. is really good in Oppenheimer, and especially good after watching the movie along with the script and seeing kind of what he's going off of and what he adds to the role. Is it the best performance? Like, probably not, but I also like it's probably the one that I would want to win. I don't know, like maybe Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things, because I think it's just so different for him, and I think that would be so fun, and I really do think he's like genuinely like deserving of it. I like all these performances, but like, yeah, I'd be fine with like Robert Downey Jr. winning. Like I'm not opposed at all.
I would probably vote for Robert De Niro if I was.
That's what I was gonna say. I think I would vote for De Niro.
I mean, he's probably the best one.
He's so good in that movie.
Yeah, but you guys really are, just to confirm, your guys' predictions are also Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, Robert Downey. It's like yeah. I mean, you said it yourself. It's like the biggest.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure just to be safe. But yeah, because you guys could always throw in curveballs. I'm just saying.
No, but yeah, I think De Niro out of those guys is definitely the guy I would go. But I think there's not really any campaigning, and he's not really won anything.
Yeah,
so it's like it's a clear De Niro, Downey thing here.
Yeah, I don't think that's one of the categories where you could really foresee an upset happening.
Yeah, no, not at all.
This one's interesting.
This is
next up. We've got actress in a leading role. The nominees are Annette Bening in Nyad, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Huller in Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. Now, this is where we might have different picks, and this could be one of the deciding things to see who does the best, unless we all end up picking the same person. I will say that I will say that my prediction, I'm gonna stick with who I want to win, which is Lily Gladstone and Cozy Flower Moon.
Okay. I want Lily Gladstone to win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a curveball in here though.
Okay, let's go. I needed this.
I think that
that
I'm
Bennett.
predicting Sandra Holler winning the Oscar.
Okay. This is
I
a
think-
big risk, but this could
Yeah.
really pay off for you.
I honestly think that it is like the biggest Anatomy of the Fall is kind of like the biggest dark horse that nobody's considering possible.
Late push Anatomy of a Fall. It is the movie getting a late push right now.
Yeah, I think
like
that
a serious surge.
it is possible. And if any like where it's not, because Anatomy of a Fall is already a favorite in one category, but like for the ones that it's not a favorite in, like this one or picture and like other categories,
Yeah.
right? I think that this is one where if the late push happens, it could happen here.
Yeah, that's fair. Owen, are you gonna do a different one than that? Or...
No, I'm going Lily Gladstone.
Okay.
I would pick Lily Gladstone as well.
It would have been cool if you picked Emma Stone and only one of us got a point.
No,
here,
I would have
but
gone
that's-
Annette Benning at that point.
Yeah. Okay. You don't think Emma
No.
Stone has a chance at all?
No,
I mean,
no,
this
no,
is
I
like,
do.
This is I was gonna say it's like
Where's
it's a
the
2-person race that's really a 3-person race
Shoot
because
me,
Sandra
I love
Holler, like,
Naiad.
yeah. No, okay, you haven't even
What about
seen
that?
the movie.
How about that? Big Naiad.
It's so
fan.
funny. It's so funny because
What are you
I
gonna
would
do about
actually
it?
I would actually love. You can't like keep the.
No,
I know
wait,
the
wait,
Oscar
wait,
season's
wait.
almost over.
What are
We
you
should
gonna
do a Naiad commentary, like watch along. Like the three of us record while watching
Can I be
Naiad.
honest?
I
I'm
am not that
watching. I've
sick.
already seen the movie.
Let's watch it
there's
again,
no-
Kevin.
You couldn't convince me to watch that
I
movie.
I
a
think it would be
second
very
time.
funny. I think it'd be really silly if we did that. But
Yeah.
No, I
For the
mean it would be fun,
Patreon.
but like it would be fun, but you should have brought up this idea before I watched Naiad because no part of me wants to watch Naiad.
Let's do it again.
Anyway,
okay.
then
But like
we
and
have-
also like we all but we like if we were an Oscar voter, we would all vote for Lily Gladstone.
I would vote for
Yeah.
Lily Gladstone.
Okay.
Listen, I would
The
be.
Gladstone.
I'm gonna say one thing: the late Anatomy of a Fall push, and the way that people have been talking about it, really makes me want to revisit the movie and like give it. So like, I really want to watch it a second time and like consider just how much I like it because there's things about it that I do really like, and maybe I didn't give it enough credit the first time around. I still don't think I'd pick Sandra Holler over Lily Gladstone, but like it's a movie I want to give more thought to.
Yeah.
Our final acting category is supporting actress. The nominees are Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, America Ferrara in Barbie, Jodie Foster in Naiad, and Da'Vine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. This is the biggest lock of the night. I think we can all agree that our prediction is Da'Vine Joy Randolph. Is anybody going to stray from?
No, hasn't she's
Okay.
won like every single
Literally, I think
actress award she's nominated for.
I think she just broke the record for most.
Like,
If she didn't, she's very close and probably will get it when she wins the Oscar. But I'm pretty sure she's won the record for most.
I mean, you'd be
like-
silly to not.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a weak.
It's
weaker
not
category,
only is
too.
it weak, but like it's also like this performance is so far ahead of those other ones. Which
Right.
like I don't know. I thought Danielle Brooks was kind of the highlight of The Color Purple. I will say which like it's a different comparison because Da'Vine Joy Randolph is good in The Holdovers in a movie that is also good in a number of other ways. You know what I mean? Like other great performances around her. Not that The Color Purple doesn't have any other good performances, but it there's a bit of a difference there. Nobody else in this category comes close to her, I don't think. So that's just, anyway. Next up, we have animated feature, which is another award where this could make our predictions a little interesting because there's some competition here. The nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I say what I say because I think there's still to this point 2 movies that could win this.
Yeah,
being The Boy and the Heron and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Where the minions at?
Where the minions at?
Hey, the minions at?
Where's
I'm
Wish?
gonna-
That's the real question. Chris Pine erasure?
You did not see that movie.
I'm gonna lock in The Boy and the Heron as my prediction, which I think at this point is maybe a bit of a riskier play than it was a little while ago.
I agree.
Across the
I'm also
Spider-Verse
gonna
could
predict The Boy and the Heron is going to win. Part of me wants to just predict Nimona because it's like a movie people like that's on Netflix, but I think that's dumb. That's a dumb thing for me to predict.
But this is like I feel like historically a category where there's some surprises. I would say more in like
I have no idea historically any animated film that has ever won this category.
Okay, fair enough.
Across or
what
Into
is
the Spider-Verse one.
Yeah. What is your prediction, Owen? Is it
Oh,
Boy
it's
and the
the Boy
Heron?
and the Heron.
Okay, so we're all. I thought maybe one of us would be different here because like
No,
I think this is
I'd
I think this
never
is
have been
genuinely a
different in my
close.
life.
No, but okay. I think this is
I
genuinely
don't
a
even
close
try.
race between those two. Like I think there could be a Spider-Verse upset on the way for sure. But yeah,
That would
I
be
don't know.
insufferable.
Sure. Yeah, no, the Boy and
I'd
the Heron
rather
is
Elemental.
deserving. I don't think you would if you had seen the movie. Next up,
Doesn't have anything to do with anything.
well, if you had seen the movie, then you would know which one you like more, and I don't think it would be Elemental. Anyway,
I like Elements.
Tell me what Elemental's about.
It's about the
Checkmate,
elements,
idiot.
bro.
It's about a boy and a girl that come from different places, but despite that, they find love.
You actually, I haven't seen the movie, but I think
That's
you know
real
that.
to me. That's
I think,
real to me.
I think you know that.
That shit's cinema.
Okay.
Okay.
Speaking of
Animation is cinema when Elemental does
cinematography, next award.
Cinematography.
Our nominations are El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I will lock in Oppenheimer as my prediction for a technical category.
I want to zag so hard here, but it's just like you can't, you know.
Yeah.
I also will lock in Hoyte van Hoytema winning another.
Oh,
Oscar,
wait.
right?
Yeah, I think he's won, right?
It would have been for.
Where's Mike G's Oscar?
Actually, I don't think he has.
Yeah, I'm going Hoyt too. Oppenheimer.
No, yeah, he's been nominated twice, no wins. Nominated for Dunkirk and now Oppenheimer.
Give me Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Crazy. Nope wasn't nominated, but yeah.
Yeah. Do we?
I would vote for Killers of the Flower Moon here personally.
Yeah, I figured. Owen.
I think Oppenheimer, right?
Oh, okay. I don't know if you would, if you like the Poor Things cinematography more, or
yeah, I'd pick Oppenheimer, obviously. You know,
I'm not crazy about like. There's not a one that really stands out for me too much. It'd probably be like either Poor Things or Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not like huge like fans of
the
cinematography. Like they're good.
Our next category is costume design. We have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I think this could go a couple different ways, but I'm gonna lock in Barbie, which I think is the front runner here.
Yeah, I'm also going Barbie.
You know what?
I genuinely don't think Barbie is like running away with this. Like I feel like the costume design.
Made sense to me.
You know what? I'm gonna zag here just as I don't, because to make it kind of interesting, I don't want to just pick the same thing as you guys. I'm gonna predict Napoleon.
Okay. Oh, shout out! Yeah, that's not what I thought. That's not what I thought you were gonna pick. I thought, yeah, interesting. Okay, I thought you would pick Poor Things.
Maybe. Oh, no, they're gonna even show up.
I don't know. There's like, I think all of these movies kind of could win. Like you wouldn't be surprised if Oppenheimer won just because it's going to win so many other awards. But like,
Oppenheimer would be such a lame.
It's clearly not like it's clearly not the winner of this category. but you know what I mean. Like it's like when a movie wins.
Yeah,
8+ I think Oscars. Sometimes it wins ones that it doesn't deserve.
I don't know what like the history likes to favor in this category or not. But I think that Napoleon being like this big historical epic, and it's like, you know, like their silly French outfits and stuff. I think that I don't know.
Bring back the
costume. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Barbie because I think it's possible Barbie doesn't come away with many awards, and a lot of the voters want to have Oscar winner Barbie, and this is, you know,
every movie
it's costume design.
I just want to make movies that only win costume design, and everyone else hates the movie, but it
that would rock. I mean, costume design rocks. But
bring back the costume picture.
Big award.
Have you seen Cruella?
Cruella.
We have a big award next.
Let's get it.
Best Director. We have Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. I am not going to stray from the popular pick here. Obviously, I'm going Christopher Nolan winning his first Best Director Oscar.
I want to zag really bad, but also it's like,
You think Anatomy of a Fall wins?
yeah, well, I don't know if I think it's possible.
Bro just wants to
though.
zag.
You know what I mean?
I
Bro
think
just
like
like
I
itching
think you
to
might be
zag.
putting too much momentum behind Anatomy of a Fall.
I
which-
think that it's just a very underrated dark horse, but I'm gonna still predict Oppenheimer.
What?
Okay.
Christopher Nolan winning, of course.
Are you predicting the same, Owen?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing about Anatomy of a
Boring.
Fall being a late push is that I don't think it applies to this category because she's a front runner in screenwriting, and because they're awarding her there, they would just stick with Nolan because like Nolan having a Best Director Oscar is just a thing that makes sense to people.
Yeah, and Nolan's like he's campaign the most successfully
Yeah.
out of these guys.
Yeah, this dude
Yeah.
wants it.
Bro,
And
like
guess
Tenet
what?
re-release just happened. Yeah, this guy's winning this
Yeah.
award. Let's-
guy wants
Next
it.
up, we have documentary feature film. The nominees are Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol. I'm gonna go with the most Oscar pick of these movies, which would be 20 Days in Mariupol. I've not watched any of these documentaries yet, but I am going to try to watch at least 2 of them, hopefully, before the Oscars happen on that Sunday. This is probably going to be the winner. I don't know. What are your guys' predictions?
I'm going to predict 20 Days in Mariupol as well. I'm not going to watch either of these movies. I'm going to throw that out there right now.
Fair enough. I imagine when you're not watching any of these either.
No, and you told me yesterday to do the pick 20 days, so we're going 20 days.
Yeah, I said this to Owen. I said this to Owen because Owen was
Owen
was complaining about categories that he's not going to watch any movies from, and he was like, "How do I pick this?" And I was like, "Just pick 20 Days in Mariupol, dude." I'm like, it's gonna win. I don't know. This is just like it's like an obvious Oscar thing. This is another category where like you can see surprises happen because like you don't really know what they're thinking with categories like this. But usually it's a very political award in terms of how they campaign for it, and it's like a very agenda based award, and this movie fits that current agenda very well. So it would be a big surprise if somebody else won. Then we have documentary shorts. I am going to try to watch a couple of these. Some of them look interesting. I'm not going to lie. A number of these look more interesting than the documentary features to me. So I'm actually excited to watch a couple of them. I'm kind of torn about what to pick here because for my prediction, because I think there's an obvious front runner, but this was kind of one of the awards that I wanted to stray for to like make things interesting, like maybe throw in a little curveball so that I could potentially lose. What are your guys' predictions?
Okay, thank you. I'm predicting the ABCs of book banning.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is probably going to win. Maybe the Barbara and Little Rock. I don't want to spend too much time on the shorts because
I know. I'm like, I'm going to watch them, but yeah, fair enough. Owen, what's your prediction?
I picked The Last Repair Shop, and I looked over all of them, and I don't know why I picked that, but I picked that yesterday.
No, that one looks good. That one, that's one of the ones that I want to watch. Yeah. I'll stick with the ABCs of book banning. I think it'll win, but I wanted to stray so hard and do Nai and WIPO because it looks like it makes people cry a lot. Sure. I think that's something that Oscar voters like, but I'll go with book banning. It seems like it makes sense. Next up, we have editing nominees: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I will pick Oppenheimer again here for obvious reasons.
I will pick Oppenheimer too.
And I will also pick Oppenheimer.
Which one would you guys like to see win? What's your favorite of these?
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I think Oppenheimer is edited really well.
Yeah, if only Dune Part 2 was edited as good as Oppenheimer.
Yes, shout out Jennifer Lane. They could have used her in the
Jenny L.
Yeah, Oppenheimer fucking rocks, man. I know that's like kind of the whole point of talking about the Oscar nominations. This is just like talking about
editing is weird though. The Oscars for editing, like you never know.
Yeah, they don't usually give it to the movie that actually has the best editing, but but I think because Oppenheimer is such a powerhouse of a movie, they'll actually get it right this time.
I guess it had good editing because it was 3 hours. I didn't get bored.
But it genuinely, there's like a number of scenes in Oppenheimer where you're like, oh, that's
insane. Like, whoa.
Like it's very well edited. Anyway,
So
international
tapped out.
international
Like,
feature. We have Io
whoa.
Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. You guys have only seen Zone of Interest and
Zoe.
Society of the Snow, correct?
Yeah, I've seen clips from Io Capitano, and it looks really
Yeah,
cool.
I'm
We have a
gonna
friend
watch
that really
that.
likes it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We also
fuck
have a friend
hard.
that really likes Perfect Days. I know you've seen it, Kevin.
I have. I do really like it. I think
I've
I
heard-
wouldn't be upset if it won.
I've heard the
but-
streets not like
Yeah,
that.
I've heard compelling criticism of Perfect Days, but I haven't seen the movie
don't
yet.
rock with it.
I have seen some of those criticisms, and it's the reason why I'm.
What if you've
conflicted
seen
about
those
the
criticisms? What if
movie.
you've not seen the same criticisms?
Well, maybe
What if
not.
we're
I've
talking
seen.
about
I have
different
seen.
things?
I have seen criticisms of the movie. Can I say
Okay,
that
okay.
instead?
Because I saw different things than you saw.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. That wasn't my point. My point was that I've seen people criticize the movie, and there are criticisms that I've seen that I kind of agree with. So
Do you
still
have
a
5
little bit-
stars?
No, I gave it 4 stars. It's good. It's like a lovely movie. I think it has like a performance at the center of it that genuinely like could have been a Best Actor nominee. I'm not gonna lie. Like he probably
If it like
he
people
probably should have been a Best Actor nominee if the Oscars were real, but
they're fake and we
Koji
made them
Yakusho
up.
not getting
This
enough
is
love.
not real. None of it is.
Yeah, I want to watch Io
we're in the
Capitano
new
because I
Tron movie.
like that director seems cool. He made a movie that I watched a while back and I enjoyed it. But predictions wise, no, Io Capitano.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Io Capitano.
You know
I'm sorry,
that
sorry,
guy.
I'm not talking about Wim Wenders. Come on. Anyway, predictions wise, Zone of Interest. It's the
Yeah,
only
Zone of
Best Picture
Interest.
nominee
Yep.
here.
Zoe.
And it's better
Yeah.
than Society of the Snow, which is the only other one I've seen.
Yeah, and also like the movie that has the second best odds here, which is crazy. Having seen Perfect Days, it's crazy that Society of the Snow has the second.
People like that
best
slot,
odds, but
man.
Yeah, well, what can you do? But yeah, Zone of Interest. I mean, it's the only Best Picture nominee here, so probably a lock. Makeup and hairstyling. We have Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow.
Here we go.
This is the award where we can possibly stray a little bit, but
yeah, me and Doug are zagging, bro.
I am predicting Maestro.
Oh, you're not zagging. I'm also predicting Maestro.
Oh, let's go.
Okay, here we go. And
Maestro
also,
heads.
I would vote for Maestro. Maestro's makeup. We didn't do an episode on Maestro, but Maestro's makeup is fucking incredible. Like,
yeah, I don't think
it's like The Whale too.
Yeah, I don't think there's a movie in here that that really I would say is like better. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean some of the best old person makeup ever in any movie.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like I think too many people are gonna focus on the nose thing if it wins, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's fucking stupid, and not that whole part of the move, the old stuff where you're like, oh, that's really impressive. Anyway, next up we have Best Original Score. We have American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I will lock in the favorite, Oppenheimer, obviously. A good Goranson score. Yeah.
Give me Oppie.
Yeah, it's Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Ludwig Göransson is the fucking goat.
Yeah,
maybe he should have done Dune as well.
It would have been better if he did Dune, for sure.
Okay.
What?
Oh,
Hey,
no, it's just like damn. No, it's just like damn. We're shitting on Dune even in the Oscars segment.
Oh, sorry. That's well. We didn't.
Listen,
we didn't. I should have brought this up, but I have a lot of issues with Hans Zimmer's score.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't talk about it, so it's
it's a big movie.
Yeah,
lot to talk about. Anyway,
but it's a lot to. You usually.
But we all picked Oppenheimer for score, right?
Yes, yeah, of course.
Okay. Best original song, we have The Fire Inside, I'm Just Ken, It Never Went Away. A Song for My People is what I'll call it because I don't want to mispronounce the other name. And What Was I Made For? This is the Billie Eilish award. They want Billie Eilish on a page, I imagine.
I'm just Ken.
Are you predicting I'm Just Ken to win?
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, fuck. No,
he put it down. No. He put it down. He put it down.
No, he didn't put it. You could.
His chips are in the middle.
I'm predicting What Was I Made For?
Yeah, so am I.
You've seen that one too.
Is that what you're picking, Alan? You just
What did you
talked
say?
so fast that
What
our
did you
brains
say,
couldn't
Owen?
process what came out of your
What
mouth.
did you say, Owen?
Yeah, I want that one. I want that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we all agree that.
Everyone
I mean,
rewind that and play it at slower speed.
I have no idea what you said. Okay, big award of the night,
chat
best
knows.
picture. We can listen.
chat
There's
is
probably
reading.
it's probably a lock between all three of us, but we can discuss a little bit with this award because obviously it's best picture. Our nominees
The BP.
are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. That's the field of 10. Are we all picking Oppenheimer here? I'm picking Oppenheimer.
Anatomy of a Fall might come for its throat,
Are you
dude.
going to predict that?
Pick it,
No.
predict it. Do it.
Oh, you can predict it.
like buying a lottery ticket. No, I'm picking Oppenheimer because the thing
Yeah.
about ranked choice voting is like, is that another movie
Who's
could
gonna leave off Oppenheimer?
theoretically win,
top,
but
yeah.
the only way that works is like if there's like a number of people that put Oppenheimer at like last on their ballot, and I just don't think that's
Yeah.
going to happen. So that's exactly. So that's why I'm predicting Oppenheimer to win.
Yeah. And
Because even people, because it's
Oppenheimer
like,
as well.
but like I think there's going to be a lot of people that don't have Oppenheimer at number one, but like
They have it at
they're going to have it
3
like 2 or 3. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. What? So you think? You think Anatomy of a Fall at this moment in time has the second best odds to win Best Picture? Would you say?
I would predict that, yes. I think that for a long time the thought was that it was The Holdovers.
That
but
has
now
dropped, I think, significantly. I think it's dropped to, like 5, maybe even.
Yeah, I think that Anatomy of a Fall.
Alexander Payne.
If any movie could upset Oppenheimer in Best Picture, which is a big if, I think it would be Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say that it also has the second best odds, though I think Poor Things is probably still sort of around, but that's probably third. And maybe the Zone of Interest is third. I don't know. Those are the 3 movies that I think have a. What do you think is in last? Not in terms of like how much
Maestro.
you like it.
Maestro.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say Maestro's probably got the worst odds here.
Or maybe Past Lives, like Maestro or Past Lives. Like
these bitches.
No, I think way more people probably have. There's
they
probably
be
some
hating
people
on
who-
Coop Dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just completely fallen. That's fair. Okay. That's Best Picture. We still have a few more. We've got Production
That's Best
Design. The
Picture.
nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I don't know if this is the favorite. Actually, I don't think this is the favorite. I'm gonna predict Poor Things.
This is Poor Things. It's not the favorite. Different Yorgos movie.
Right. All right. Fuck you. Yeah, I'm gonna predict Poor Things. Is Barbie the favorite to win this?
Yeah, Barbie's.
Give me Barbie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict Barbie. What would you guys vote for in this category?
I forget what they were.
It's Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Would I be a loser for saying Oppenheimer?
Yeah, probably.
Well, I mean, they built that. They
built. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I was like, it's a pretty impressive.
With or without it.
Yeah,
I probably
know. But I probably would say Poor Things.
I'd probably vote for Barbie, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like some of the.
Give me Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Maybe I would lean Barbie as well. It's like it's one of the most impressive parts of the movie. It might be the most impressive part of the movie is like building that world. Yeah, well, okay.
Until they build a bigger production design.
Until they build a bigger Barbie land. Yeah. I guess I'm straying with this pick. Yeah, I'll go Poor Things. Maybe this will be the award.
Dune 2 is the best movie ever until they build a bigger Dune.
Okay. Next up, we have animated short. We have Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko.
Maybe hating that.
We could all pick different ones here.
I'm picking War is Over.
You're picking War is Over?
Psycho.
Okay. Owen, what are you picking?
I'm picking 95 Senses, the Jared.
Oh, and I'm picking Letter to a Pig. So we have 3 different picks. Maybe.
What if none of us win? Because this is like.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well, here's the thing.
I looked at the fucking what's it called? The War is Over thing on Letterboxd is so funny. Everyone's like giving it like
yeah. Well, I've done a little bit of research about the animated shorts, and my understanding, I don't know what Letter to a Pig is about, but I think
Cinema Joseph. What are we doing exactly?
I think some people said that Letter to a Pig is like maybe tasteless and like a little bit offensive, which is
that's
like
why you
a
liked it.
real, yeah, I'm like, that's a real Oscar thing. So, yeah,
Bro,
I don't know.
this John Lennon War is Over movie looks fucking AI generated.
Yeah,
You
no, it
can-
looks that one looks
Can you
bad.
get up?
I
Look at
listen, the animated shorts are like kind of like, I don't want to say by far the worst shorts, because some of the live, I
Holy
watched all
shit.
the live action shorts, and that one short is not a real movie. I mean, I sent you guys that review where it was like anybody can make a short film if like
You're
this
talking about what's it, the after?
Yeah, the after. I mean, that shit was, dude. Please don't watch it. I know you guys aren't going to watch it anyway, but like, goddamn, it's bad. Like,
Okay,
it's,
so
it's
live action short film is the next category.
live action short film is the next category. That is one of the nominees. The nominees are
Yeah.
The After, Invincible, The Night of
Oh!
Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I think we all have the same prediction here.
If Wes Anderson loses this,
TWSOHC.
That would be so fucked up.
I mean, we have to just like. I think that there has to be like a serious change if Wes Anderson loses this award. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It's like, it's such a weird thing because like people don't watch the Oscar shorts, you know. So like if Wes Anderson loses, that would be really confusing because this is like the one time a big director
Where is Godard?
nominated in this category.
where is Godard?
Where is Godard?
Yeah, I'm the only one here who's seen every single one of
Bitches be on
these.
Netflix talking about
For the people listening who have any interest in checking out the live action shorts,
don't.
I would say the ones that you should watch, other than Henry Sugar, which is obviously like genuinely great. The ones that you should watch are Invincible and Night of Fortune. You can probably avoid Red, White, and Blue, though I know a lot of people will be swayed by how emotional it is. And you can definitely avoid The After, which is, one of the. I want to say it's one of the worst shorts, but I've seen the other things that get nominated in this category, and they're fucking bad sometimes. So it's definitely not one of the worst, but it sucks. Next up, we have Sound. The nominees are The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. I will stick with Oppenheimer.
You just have that shit on ready.
Yeah, you were prepared for this.
Wait,
episode.
you think Oppenheimer's gonna win?
I do think Oppenheimer's gonna win.
Okay.
But
I'm predicting The Zone of Interest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing Zoe as well.
I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm
straying.
I'm straying again. The reason for my straying, I think, is because I'm just thinking that like less people will watch that movie, and like Oppenheimer's.
Wait, do I have Dune? Hold up.
Just gonna sweep these, but I don't know. Is Zone of Interest, you would say, is your favorite of these as well, right? Or would you?
Yeah, it is for this category for sure.
Probably. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
You would, Owen? Would you say the same? Owen's distracted looking at. I don't know.
Shit in my book.
Okay. Would you say that? Would you say that Zone of Interest is your favorite pick here? Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
What about you, Kevin?
Probably.
Oppenheimer sound design is interesting too.
No, yeah, I really like
couple of sound because
that's what I was gonna say. I really like Oppenheimer. It's like a weird thing for me because I'm like I can appreciate things about other movies, but like at the end of the day, like Oppenheimer is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Like I like everything in it, so I'm like when I'm comparing it in any of these awards, I'm just like, yeah, that might be my favorite, but like it's realistically it's not. Like it's Oppenheimer for all of them. You know what I mean? Anyway. Visual effects is up next. We have The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. I'm honestly a bit torn between two picks here, so I'm gonna let you guys lock in your predictions first.
I'm leading the pack here. This is not my favorite movie nominated, but I'm going to predict The Creator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Owen?
Yo, wait. Owen, you're muted.
Fuck. What do you think I said?
The Creator.
No, I said Godzilla -1.
Oh, okay. So those are the two movies that I was torn between, obviously. So I could either one of you is gonna get the winning point, or
what if Guardians wins?
No, I mean it's gonna be one of these two. I just don't know which one of you I want to go with.
I like The Creator more.
I like Godzilla like way more. But
I think
that there's a little. This is a Twitter win.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think
thing,
there's
that's the thing.
incentive to get the Godzilla minus
That's a
one
Twitter win.
team on a stage for like a
Yeah.
fun Oscar speech that people are like happy about.
Since this is the only category it's nominated in.
Yeah, like I think, but is
there's
the
also,
movie
like-
as big of a deal? Because I'm like in my head, I'm like, I think the people in this department, like in like the visual effects people, probably really like the visual effects in the creator, and they
That's
might not
what
be
I was
thinking
gonna
about
say.
that. I'm
Yeah.
like, they might just be like, this is really impressive stuff. I want to vote for this.
Godzilla is the most popular. It's not the most popular movie here, but it's like Godzilla has like the story behind it. But the thing
Yeah,
with the creators, like I think that people that know ball, which is not all the Academy voters, but I think that people
yeah, but
know
there's a
ball.
number of them.
They talk about and like they look at the creator and like that's like the creator's whole thing was like we did this with way less
Yeah,
money
that's
than we were
Greg's
supposed
best
to.
work of the year.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like
But
all.
they also
like, it
did
was,
that with Godzilla. I mean, doing
That's
it with way
true.
less money.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
did they do it like?
but Godzilla was
morally
slave labor, and the
incorrect?
creator
Yeah.
was being really
yeah.
Sure,
interesting and
sure.
creative.
But they loved that shit at Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I will.
Slave labor.
Damn, I actually don't know.
Who do you
Okay,
pick? Who do you pick?
I'll go Godzilla, but I feel bad about it.
Oh.
I think the creator's gonna win, but I'm gonna go Godzilla. I
don't know. It's
why.
tough to predict this.
Yeah,
one.
I have a
Yeah, I
gut
don't
feeling.
know.
I have a gut feeling that the creator's gonna win, but I'm gonna stick with Godzilla because I trust like the narrative element of the Oscars. But
Also, there's a thing against the creator two that might work against this, where they use like that real bombing as an effect of the movie. You know, and so that might work out of its favor. Like people might remember that and not want to vote for it too. But I don't know.
okay.
Most
Yeah,
people
that's
probably
fair.
didn't even know that was real.
And then our last two categories, we have both the writing categories. We'll start with adapted screenplay. The nominees are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Listen, Oppenheimer is the lead in a number of categories. I think similar to what you said about Anatomy of a Fall, there's like some dark horse contention here for American Fiction, I think. I think like
interesting.
I think like people are backing Cord Jefferson a little bit and really liking the American Fiction script. I could see it pulling off the upset.
I listened to an interview with Cord Jefferson. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, no, he seems I mean,
Did you watch the movie?
I've seen the movie. You guys have
I've seen the
not,
movie.
right? Oh, you have?
I saw it in theaters. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember you talking about it. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. It was fine.
Okay, yeah.
It's like okay. It's kind of like it's like a lid movie. It's fine. Like,
yeah. That's that was my I don't know. We don't need to get into a whole American Fiction thing here, but I do think it has a serious shot to upset Oppenheimer here. I'm gonna still lock in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Oppenheimer, but I will say though, if you just like with removed from the context of the award race and everything, and even like the movies themselves, if you just presented me these names, I would be like, oh, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach are gonna win. You know what I mean? But
I don't listen. I don't think it would be. I was in Barnes and Noble 2 days ago, and they had the Barbie screenplay book up on a big fucking they were showing it off, dude. It was like there was like a little section in Barnes and Noble, and it was like Oscar nominees, and it was like all of like the books that have been adapted into like Oscar nominees or whatever. And then like right at the center of it, like on a fucking shrine, was the Barbie screenplay, and I was like, I don't even see the Oppenheimer screenplay here. They have the Oppenheimer like book, but not the screenplay book, and I was like, oh, I don't know, not that Barnes and Noble is fucking deciding who wins the Oscar, but I'm like, I think people really care. I think people really care about the Barbie screenplay, so I wouldn't be surprised if it just like comes out of nowhere and wins.
What are you predicting? Owen hates movies.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
And then our final category is the original screenplay, which is Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. I'm gonna go with Anatomy of a Fall here.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement? Can we
Anatomy of a Fall.
Can we circle back really quick between both of these awards? Who would you guys want to win either of these awards?
Writing is irrelevant.
Poor Things.
Yeah. Okay.
Poor Things. I would vote for
a podcaster for a second.
I would vote for Poor Things. Probably.
Okay.
Definitely not Barbie. Definitely not American Fiction. So it's between the other three. So probably Poor Things for me for the adapted screenplay.
Yeah. And then for original, you'd vote Maestro.
What are the original ones, Ian?
Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives.
You mean May December?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, May
I haven't
December's my
seen
pick.
May December, so
guy.
it's not.
Yeah,
You know, I don't. But I think Anatomy of a Fall is a very, 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 very well written movie.
No, I agree. I
The
think
stuff I don't like about it is like I don't like the way it's shot very much.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's
but no, the
I don't like
writing
way
is
it
it's a
looks.
writing movie. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
it's a writing and an acting movie,
Ooh.
but
It's not Owen's thing. Yeah, that's why you haven't seen it. 'Cause it's not your
it's
thing.
not Owen's thing. I would vote for Oppenheimer for adapted, and then I would vote May December for original. The May December script is, I mean,
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't watched
ridiculous
it.
that it doesn't have any push because of how the Academy feels about May December. This is like kind of a real. It's going to be one of the real like all-time snubs. I feel like. Well, that's doing a disservice to Anatomy of a Fall, but you know what I mean. Anyway, that's all of our predictions then. So we're locked in for Oscar Sunday. I think we were pretty similar on most categories, so we're only going to be like a couple of points separated.
Someone's
from
gonna
each
lose
other,
on those
if
shorts.
yeah, I mean, that might be the deciding thing, I guess. Unless
What if I win because Holler wins Best Actress? What if
it's possible. What if? Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I don't know. We'd have to look back at everything we picked, but if one of those Oscar shorts, like one of the two that we didn't pick, is the winner, and then we all end up in a 3-way tie. I don't know if that's possible with who we voted for.
We all end up in a 3-way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's every week, but
no, I think because I picked Holler and actually because.
No, but I strayed in a couple. I strayed in one of them as well,
I think we could end in a 3-way tie. I think it is possible.
I think it's possible.
Find out next time.
I doubt that's what happens, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll find. Yeah, yes, Owen, we'll find out next time. All right,
we will.
This is a great episode.
We're gonna wrap up there. Big episode. Obviously, since we didn't do it earlier, I'd like to remind everybody to do all your normal feedback stuff, like, comment, subscribe, rate the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us on all our social platforms, as well as obviously follow Sydney on all of our platforms. Next week, we're going to be talking about 2 movies, Damsel and The Sweet East, and of course, we will be reacting post Oscars on next week's episode as well. So yeah, we'll see you later.